Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. This is a very exciting football episode. We had NFL free agent signing just started, and we mentioned that last podcast. And Bill Belichick, he knows we are doing a podcast, and he was the gift that kept on giving this week. So we have so much to cover during this podcast. I'm going to jump right into it because the amount of signings that we have to go through. Just going to go right into it with Big Meat. Big Meat, welcome to the podcast here.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Azar.
Oh, yes. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And your pseudo-Irish ass.
the two completely non-Irish people on this podcast.
That's right.
Nothing to do with it, except for our spouses. The only connection we have to the Irish.
That is true.
Traditions here. But yeah.
Exactly. Well, you know, my kids are, because of it, are half Irish, so I have to at least celebrate St. Patrick's Day somewhat today. Wearing my green.
I always tease my kids. I call them muggles because they're not purebloods. Like, you know, they're not 100% Arab. They had that potential, and you know, you marry a non-Arab person, and now I got like a half Irish, French, and you know, you're 100% Greek, and you mix the bloodline, and now you got muggles of your own.
they're mutts. Got a bunch of mutts.
The shame we brought to our families.
It is, yes, for sure. But you know what? It doesn't stop us from drinking on this lovely St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, this is an exciting one. This is officially today, as we're recording, so they say it's officially the first day of free agency, but you know, it didn't really stop teams from announcing big free agent signings. I know the legal tampering period started the other day, but people were basically announcing it and making it almost we're officially unofficial on the signing. So I don't even understand the whole point of today's free agent day. It's like, does it really matter? Like, why doesn't every team just go out there and just sign whoever they want? And then not obviously you don't put it on paper and you don't make it official, but I'm glad that
back out, right? Like, because if it's typically officially non-tampering day, whatever, I guess someone could come in and blindside an offer and give someone one last chance to bring them on.
I guess
they didn't sign the paper, so they could say, yeah, you know what, I'm actually going to change my mind, you know, and.
True. I wonder if that's ever happened. Yeah, I was wondering. I was trying to think if that's ever happened before. Imagine that. Like when J.J. Watt announced a few weeks ago he was going to Arizona, he was putting on Instagram, and I don't know if it was Twitter or whatever social media platform he was using, but he was basically working out in an Arizona Cardinal shirt. And like that was proof enough to say, hey, it's legit. I'm going to Arizona. I've already got my Arizona gear on. Imagine that if he just came back and the next day and was like, you know what? I changed my mind.
Yeah.
If I really want to go to Arizona, I think I'm going to go somewhere else. And then what do you do? It's a bad look. It would be a really bad look.
The only one I could think of, and it's not a free agent signing or anything, it was just the Josh McDaniel, when he committed to be the coach of the Colts, started bringing in his team and then said, yeah, I'm out of here, and went back to the Patriots. So that's the only thing I could think of was recent memory of a big, someone went to a team and said, and screw them over completely like that, just backed out on them. But I don't know. That's actually something to look into. I think it would be kind of funny to see if that's ever happened. But yeah, I mean, talk radio and every like show on talk radio or whatever you watch that's sports related, every time this tampering season starts, no one can explain what it means, why you can do this on Monday and everything signs. Like, why can't you just do free agency on Monday? Like, what it's
right.
It just makes no sense. And I have yet to hear an explanation that makes sense of it. And I try to listen to all like these football gurus that live and die with the NFL, and yet to this day I've not heard an explanation that makes sense to me. Like, it just seems like a silly, or it's just a brilliant move by the NFL to keep you into the conversation.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. They want to spread it out over the year, but hopefully Jarvis joins us later on. I'm sure he might have an answer for that question. I'm sure he's heard it somewhere, but he's not on with us right now, but hopefully he will grace us with his presence later on. And
that's a strong word, grace.
Yeah. And this has nothing to do with us talking about Wonka Vision or some show that he doesn't, couldn't care less about. He has other prior commitments, and he said he will try to join us later on. So hopefully, when we get into that discussion, Jarvis could join us.
Yeah, well, we definitely need his contributions for the NFL portion. But why don't we jump into our typical segment? Meat has been on his drinking binge, and yet he has another beverage that he wants to discuss. He's actually been excited and dying to talk about this one. I know he's been itching for this one. So
I do.
Meat, I'll let you just jump right into it. What do you share with the group? What your research has found? Your dedication to this podcast.
Yes. I am excited about this one. It was something I teased at the last podcast, but there's not really that much to say about it other than it's another peanut butter whiskey on the market that I found. Remember last year we did the 3 peanut butter whiskey podcast with Screwball, there was Rams Point, and then there was the PB&J. And those were like the only 3 that we could find. Maybe there are some others out there, but we could never really find any in any of the liquor stores. Well, I did hit a liquor store last week. Surprise, surprise. And I did find another peanut butter whiskey. And I said, oh, I have to buy this now. It's for the podcast. It's called Squirrel Peanut Butter Whiskey, spelled SQRRL. SQR. It's got a little squirrel in the bottle.
Okay.
I don't really have much to say about it. I've tried it. I'm drinking it now. It's okay, but unfortunately, I got to say, Screwball is still king. I was kind of hoping that this would maybe top Screwball because I'm seeing Screwball everywhere now on menus at restaurants. A lot of restaurants are making their own drinks mixed with Screwball peanut butter whiskey. So I was hoping this one would kind of at least match that, and it doesn't. It tastes more butterscotch, a little bit more like Rams Point than it does with Screwball. So that's all I'm really going to say about it. It's not bad. Of course, you know me. I'll drink the bottle Azar, but I'm not. If I went to the liquor store and I saw those 4 brands on the shelf, I'm still going with Screwball. But I did want to announce that there was that 4th one out in the market that people want to try it. Maybe they have their own preference on what their favorite is.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like these companies have come out to compete with Screwball, but they haven't found like the magic recipe. And they tend to be other flavors. They're not really peanut butter whiskeys. It's almost like, we're close enough. We got a hint of peanut butter. But Screwball gives you that peanut butter taste to it, which is interesting. But it works so well when you mix it, like you were saying, with all these other drinks or mixes. You can mix with this, like Bailey's or Godiva chocolate or Chambord.
Yeah.
So you get all these different things that mix because it's like it was that peanut butter chocolatey taste. But the other ones, to your point, is like if they taste like butterscotch, it goes for a different effect. It's not going to give you that taste that you're trying to achieve that Screwball does. Screwball is more expensive. I don't know how much was Squirrel. Is Squirrel same price as a Screwball, or is it?
It was cheaper. Screwball is a little bit pricey, but I'd still pay the.
It's worth the money. I was craving really a bottle of it because I have some mixers and I'm like, you know what, I'm in the mood. I've kind of I had a beer last night, and I'm like, I'm out of the beer mood. Like the weather's warmer and something. I don't know. I'm just out of the dark beer mood, and I'm ready to go back to mixed drinks and whiskey again. So, I got another maybe gin and tonic. I haven't had a gin and tonic, and the weather is perfect now. It's getting warmer for some good gin and tonics.
Yeah,
that might be something worthwhile. Talking about some new gins for the spring weather, sitting around a fire. Cocktails.
Yeah, for sure. Gin and tonic. You got to go with the Bombay Sapphire.
Yeah, but we say that. But how many years ago was the Bombay Sapphire the gold standard? I wonder if something has come out better.
Yep.
So I think
it's been a while. I used to drink that was my go-to drink, gin and tonic, for years, and and then I just kind of got sick of drinking it. I just wanted something different, and all of a sudden, I don't know if my taste buds changed or whatever, but started drinking other things like whiskey and a little bit harder, more straight up on the rocks kind of drinks, and I'm mixing it with something. But gin and tonic used to be my go-to for a long time.
I think it's time to revisit that. And now I noticed, we would buy like whatever tonic water is available, like Polar or Schweppes or whatever sold tonic water. You buy like these, but now I've seen like there's such a variety of tonic waters you can buy. There's like high-end tonic waters and stuff like that. I wonder if it makes a difference. I have never tried a more higher end tonic water to see if it actually does taste different.
Mhm.
Does it improve the quality of the drink? I don't know. It might be something for us to do a little research on that. But I think it's something. Just another excuse to go to the liquor store and go shopping.
That's right. That's right. And just to go back to Screwball whiskey, as I was trying this one, sometimes you try all these different drinks, and you almost kind of forget what the other drink tastes like. So you want to compare. And I went to go pour myself some of the Squirrel peanut butter whiskey, and then I opened my cabinet to pour another glass of peanut butter whiskey, and just kind of do a side by side comparison. And I was bummed I didn't have any Screwball whiskey. I was like upset. I was mad. I was like, oh shoot! Like that's going to be a rule in my household. I think I will always have some Screwball whiskey in my because it's one of those drinks. So if you're craving it, you got to have it. You got to have it. So
I have that rule, but then you come over and you drink it on me, and I run out. So so I try to hide the bottle from you, and then my wife goes and gives it to you. So
I have to show up with a bottle myself to replenish it after I drink the rest of yours.
I'd love to see the look on your kid's face as you're pouring 2 whiskeys from 2 different bottles and walking around. It's like, at what point do the kids look at you and start saying, Dad, is there a problem?
What I tell them, it's apple juice. I've tried 2 different brands of apple juice. That's what I tell them.
One brand per night is not good enough. Now we're going to start mixing the brands. All right. Well, that's good. You know what? It doesn't sound appealing. It makes me want to go out and get another bottle of peanut butter of Screwball. So
yes, indeed.
But you know what? We'll keep an eye out, because if I come across a peanut butter whiskey, I'll do the same thing. I'm always curious to try a different one. But right now there's 4 on the market, and Screwball's still the gold standard for everybody. All right, let's go to the entertainment, because this is an area that, as we all know, Jarvis doesn't really care about this stuff unless it's some weird docuseries or something that has The Rock in it.
Also talking about Oak Island or some scare stupid show that he watches.
Yeah, so that he's committed to. He's not, he doesn't keep a good pulse on like what's coming down like this week, right? We're like trying to stay on top of everything. Like, what's the buzz right now, right? And the Snyder Justice League cut is the buzz. Like, everybody's curious, is it going to be that much different? And I didn't know this, and maybe you did already. I didn't realize HBO Max gave Snyder $70 million to fix it. That's a lot of money on top of what they already spent on this movie.
Wow.
To go back, get the help of the cast, and to sort of reboot the movie. And it's longer now. It's even long. It's like a 4-hour movie now.
Right.
That is crazy. And I've never seen, has that ever been done before?
I don't think so. I think they're starting a precedent with this one, because if they come up with another terrible Star Wars movie, if there's enough fans backlash, are they going to come back and say, okay, well, we'll redo Star Wars then? They're starting a precedent, because I don't think this has ever been done before. Did they do reshoots? Did they have the cast, like some or part of the cast, come back and shoot some extra scenes? And
the Joker
crazy.
Character came back, and some of the stuff I read on it, I was surprised. And they're introducing 2 new villains to it on top of the Joker, so they had to bring some people in. I don't know if it was all. I think if what we heard, like he stopped middle of production, and the guy went to a different direction with the movie. So they had to do some rebooting, and that required bringing people in to do some scenes.
Something his daughter died, and he had to stop like in the middle of the production. So they brought in that guy Joss Whedon, who did the Avengers movie. And I mean, he did such a great job with the Avengers movie, but you can't bring in another director midway through and say, okay, now I'm going to do it my way, because everything just would be so discombobulated. And that's kind of what the movie was. It was a little messy. And so Snyder, when he got the go ahead to release this one, he said there will not be any Joss Whedon scenes. Anything that he put in there will not be in this movie. So it's all going to be Zack Snyder's footage. But 4 hours, it's gonna be a long one. It's kind of exciting. I don't know if there was so much fan support over the years that HBO Max must have saw how many fans wanted this, and they just said, okay, if this many fans want it at, I don't know what HBO Max is charging these days per month, but they did the math in their head and they're like, yeah, we'll give you $70 million. We'll get a good ROI back because we know there's enough people out there that want to see this Snyder cut. So it'll be good. It'll be good.
No,
I hope his other movies, the Batman versus Superman movie, was kind of a mess. So I hope it's good. I hope I'm not watching it and being like, it's even worse than the one that they came out with. I hope that's not my reaction to it.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I'm just kind of curious because I think the whole point of this is they were trying to replicate what Marvel did, the Avengers, and all the little side movies to build to this epic movie, right? And I wonder now we're going to see this Justice League makes more sense out of the Batman movie. Maybe it makes it more kind of like cohesive, where the Batman movie versus Superman was kind of disjointed. And then you had this epic thing when they brought Superman back in the Justice League movie. So I wonder if the story is going to be told in a better way, so it actually flows together better. So 4 hours, it's dropping tomorrow. So by the time you're listening to this podcast, it's coming down on Thursday, basically on the 18th. So get ready. And technically, and if I'm not wrong, this is like kind of technically the first blockbuster movie during COVID. Like there's been so many blockbuster movies we've been waiting for. Nothing's really dropped because everything keeps getting pushed. So there's almost has that feel like, oh, another blockbuster movie is dropping. So it's kind of exciting. But what I didn't understand is HBO Max and Warner Brothers has already shut down doing another movie. So there is going to be no Justice League 2. So I'm kind of surprised why go through all this effort. And I wonder if that's BS. I wonder if they see the popularity, will they go and say, well, why not? Like if it was that popular, let's try it again. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they didn't. I mean, because weren't they coming out with another Flash? Well, they haven't even come out with a Flash movie. They introduced the character, but they want to have a Flash movie, and
there are Cyborg,
Wonder Woman just came out with that awful 1984 movie that we reviewed, which was awful. Aquaman came out with his movie, so I'd be surprised. They did say this they call it the Snyder Cut. Will not be part canon. It won't be. It's not like they're going to make a sequel to this version of his movie. If they're gonna make a sequel, they're gonna follow the movie that came out in theaters a few years back. So hopefully it's good. Snyder as his approach, as you remember in the Batman versus Superman movie, it's darker, not a lot of humor, and Whedon came in and tried to make it a little bit light and fun, and it was disjointed. It just didn't flow. So hopefully this one will be a better version of it. But again, tomorrow. Coming out 4 hours long. Hopefully it's good, and we'll have more of a review on it at next week's podcast.
Well, the interesting thing has a rated R designation. So if you have kids, just be warned, guys. This one's going to have a rated R rating on it. So it is going to be darker. Yeah. Stuff I read on it today. It's going to be rated R.
Oh, now I'm even more intrigued.
Yeah. So I wonder with the Joker if it's going to be more violent and darker. Because I watch on the HBO Max platform. They have that show, The Titans, which is, like I mentioned before, it's like the Netflix version of the Marvel characters. It was darker, more adult, violent, very graphic, and it's a kind of a cool show because it's more of like an adult show versus watching more of the kid-friendly stuff. So I'm kind of curious about this movie. They're gonna have that same kind of feel. Watch that graphic that my wife pulled out. She's like, "This is too graphic. I can't even watch it." And that's kind of funny to me because she watched The Punisher on Netflix with me, which is extremely graphic and violent, and she thought the show Titans was too graphic at the beginning. But we'll see. I'm very looking forward to it. So going to the other franchise, to the other side of the Marvel. This is exciting. On Friday is finally dropping their next TV show, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
And that is based on the previews compared to WandaVision. Seems to be a much more faster paced, high energy show, and only 6 episodes. I don't know the length. I think they're under an hour episode, aren't they? Pretty much.
Yeah, I heard
each episode?
between 40 and 50 minutes each.
Okay,
It'll be 40
so a little bit longer
minutes.
than WandaVision. Not as long of a season, but based on what we saw, I know you like watching the previews. I know that's your big thing to watch those.
Mm-hmm. The trailer.
It looks the trailers. Yes, they look pretty good, and I like the chemistry between those two characters. They have a fun chemistry between them. They have this. I don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what your thoughts on it, but I'm pretty excited for this Friday.
I am too. It's a different. It's different from WandaVision, right? And a lot of the Marvel movies are like that. They're very different from one another. So this one's, goes back to a little bit of that tone that like Captain America, Winter Soldier had, a little bit of that tone. The last trailer they just released just either yesterday or the day before. I was excited for this movie. I saw all the trailers leading up to it, all the previews and commercials. They released the final trailer the other day, and it got me even more looking forward to the show because this last trailer just was awesome. So it was. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But you're right, only 6 episodes. That's 6 weeks of podcast topics for us. I wonder if Jarvis is gonna watch these. Highly doubt it, but I hope it's good because I do like those two characters as well, and they're good together. It's like the buddy cop kind of comedy.
Yeah, and just something about them. When I watched some of the movies because of WandaVision, I went back and watched Age of Ultron. I watched Civil War. It was just interesting to see the dynamics between those two guys. It was just a funny. I think they have this they got this serious attitude about them, but they find a way to kind of put a little humor in it and take the edge off, which is something I like. They do a good job, but the Marvel side of it does a much better job of adding humor to their movies. DC just can't figure out how to do it right. Like it's just hokey. Yeah. Like they just can't. Something about it isn't natural. Where in the Avengers, it just seems more natural. Not in the Avengers. In the Marvel side, it's just built into the story more naturally. Right. Where I feel like it's forced with the DC Comics side of it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of DC Comics, I know you're a big DC Comics like off the TV, like on like standard TV, like CW.
CW, yeah.
Yeah, so I know we actually started watching Superman and Lois. I'm not gonna go. I won't review it.
I did too.
I just started watching it. Yeah, I'm a couple episodes in. It's an interesting twist to the story. I was kind of surprised. And if you're not familiar with it, it's funny not seeing Henry Cavill as the Superman. Like you're seeing this different guy play Superman. He's got the same build as him, but it's kind of funny. But he's married to Lois. And actually has kids, which I didn't even know Superman in any of the comics actually has kids. Is this a total drift off of the comics, or is this a real thing?
So this is he came from that Supergirl show on the CW. So he was kind of a side character. Okay. I say side character. He was still Superman, but he wasn't the main character in the show. It was all about Supergirl. And so they decided to do a spin-off on his version of Superman. I didn't really catch the last couple of seasons, but it had something to do with it was called Crisis on Infinite Earths. And something happened where, all the kind of like the multiverse that they talk about in Marvel, this happened in DC, and something to do with they fast forwarded in time and he ended up having kids. And I don't know, it's something to do with that whole storyline that they had in the other shows. That they're continuing on with this one. It's not bad. It's not. It's a little bit. It's a little bit too drama-ish for me at times. Right? The kid has high anxiety, and then it's just kind of, it's like they're going with a different spin on it.
Yeah, it's building though. I found the first 2 episodes. I think I think we only did two episodes. It started building by the second one. I'm just curious if it's like WandaVision. Because to your point, I didn't watch any of the Supergirl stuff, so I had no clue. So I noticed in the first one, he did a lot of recapping. And I didn't understand why, but now that makes sense. They kind of wanted, if you were kind of coming in blind, you don't know the story, kind of gave you a heads up, like what was going on. I don't know. It's a little dark. His mother dies in it and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. And it's not a big spoiler because she dies early on. Like it's not like a big part of the story. Like,
well, I think it's the first Superman show or movie that they're kind of going in a direction that you don't really know where they're going with it, because everybody knows the Superman story. We've seen the movies. We've seen it's like the same story, right? And you kind of know all the characters. And this is just a different. You don't know what to expect, as you do watch it. I did like The Flash. The Flash I thought was great. It's still on. I stopped watching it after so many seasons. I said, all right. I kind of lost interest in that a little bit.
Yeah. When his daughter came back, I kind of lost. I haven't even finished that season. His daughter came back out from the future, and it was just weird. And I was like, all right, these storylines keep kind of repeating themselves. So I kind of fell out of favor, but I think they're on their 7th season right now. I feel almost like I want to go. Like, I already committed so many years. Why don't I just go back and finish it?
That's how I always feel about any show. You watch it, and after so many seasons, you're like, you're invested in it. You have to at least finish the season. But if you're not interested, you're not interested. You can't sit there and power through some of these episodes, And I've
there's
moved
so many
on
other
now.
good things.
It's true, and I've moved on with all the streaming service shows, Netflix, HBO Max. I mean, the Amazon Prime, whatever you name it, Disney Plus. Just the content in those are just so much better. They're just better, And I can't sit through no commercials, right? And I can't sit through a 20 episode season again on ABC or NBC or the CW or Fox. I just can't do it. I can't do it. There's not one show I watch on any of those channels, any of those networks.
And that's the funny thing, because that's the thing with The Flash. I actually start looking I'm like, oh God, how many episodes are there? And you're right. Like it's not like we've gotten so trained, like a season's only like 10, maybe 12 episodes. They go into the 20s, and you're like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't sit and watch this for 20 episodes, hour-long episodes. That's a lot of time. There's other things you want to watch. So I'm with you on that. Maybe if there's another COVID outbreak and we get shut down again, I'll go back and try to revisit it. But right now, there's too many good things coming down the wire. I actually went by Redbox. He actually posted, I don't know where these movies came from, but they actually had new movies. They actually had to put bold letters on the machine, new movies available.
Really?
And I was like, what are the new movies? They're kind of cheesy movies that I think didn't really make it to the theater. They were kind of just like fast tracked through. But I was tempted. I'm like, you know what? I might come back and rent a couple movies. It's like this weekend, there's too many things going on.
It's like the Tom and Jerry movie when you see it out in Redbox.
That one is on HBO Max.
That is a show. What is it on? It's not. Is it on HBO Max? It is. Oh, yeah. I have it. So my son wants to watch it, and he's like, I want to watch. And I, of course, I grew up watching Tom and Jerry, so there was a little bit of interest, but I've yet to see it. Did you watch it yet?
No.
Did you see it?
No. If you love the classic Tom and Jerry, it's not the same. It's more of like the clean edited version of it. Like it's more. Because I've seen my kids watch some of the newer ones. Like my sons used to watch some of the newer ones that were made. And I always look at it, and it's not that same violent, silly, take a shotgun and blow their face off kind of thing. Like it's not the same. I don't know how to describe it. So it's tough to watch. It's like going back and trying to watch a Looney Tune, like the new Looney Tune cartoons, when you're so used to like the Bugs Bunny. Like there was a certain style back then that was more unfiltered. Now it's more sort of not PC, because it's not like they were doing anything like that, but it's just, I don't know, it's just more filtered for
I won't like that. I won't like that, but I'll still try it. I'll still watch it one evening with the kids.
I'm with you. At some point I'm going to do it, but I think HBO Max gives you a time limit how long they'll keep it on the platform, because they release it in the movies and they release it on HBO Max, and then there's a there's a point they say, no, it's all movies now. Like if you didn't watch it now, you got to go to the movie theater and watch it. I noticed that with them. They give you like 30 days to watch the movie on their platform. So,
Oh, okay. So there's a limited time there. So I gotta.
there is, yeah, because their
jump
most
on that.
recent movie they dropped was called Black Messiah, and that one just gave you like a last minute, hey, you got like so many days before we're pulling it. It gave you like a heads up that it's coming off the platform. So, and I think it got released in the movie theater at the same time. So I think that's just how they do it. It's just like Wonder Woman. When it released, it was only on HBO Max for a few weeks after it dropped, and it was all movie theater.
That's right. Yeah, you could say that was kind of the last big blockbuster movie.
Yeah,
was that
yeah,
Wonder
but
Woman,
it was such a disappointment that I keep forgetting about that one.
it was very forgettable. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We ripped that movie to shreds over like three different podcasts. So I don't want to rehash the Wonder Woman 1984 movie. It was that bad.
Yeah. And I haven't met anybody that challenged us and said you guys are wrong about it. No one.
Right.
Like no one's come and said you guys are too harsh on it. Everybody agrees it was a terrible movie. Last thing on the Winter, I keep calling it the Winter Soldier, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that if people are just wondering, the time setting for the show is basically 6 months after game. So it's after that whole blip, everybody's come back. It's 6 months later. It's building from there. So if you're just wondering, where's this coming from? Is it like a prequel to what happened in the? No, it's basically 6 months after. So basically, isn't that at Endgame? If I'm not mistaken, didn't Captain America give the shield to Falcon at the end of that movie?
They did at the end of Endgame. He gave it to him.
So
and
I'm
that was
curious.
immediately
Is
right
he going to
after.
be? Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. Is he going to still be carrying around the Captain America shield?
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. That's like they don't really give a lot of details as to what this show is going to be about. But yeah, I read that too. It'll be 6 months later. Which makes you wonder, I know the Spider-Man sequel came out, and that was after Endgame, and how people reacted to coming back. And it wasn't, they didn't really get into it too much. WandaVision, they didn't kind of got into it a little bit. But I think this show, from what I'm hearing, is going to be more about all the different things that have happened as people, I guess, come back to life. And then just a lot of like just craziness coming from that. So I think they're gonna go into a little bit more of that, of how life is so much different now that people come back and like their families are 5 years older, they're 5 years younger. It's interesting to see how that ends up playing out in this season. With only 6 episodes, again, it's gonna be quick. It's gonna be quick, which I like. I like that. 45 minutes an episode every week, 6 episodes later, done. I like it. It'll be so roughly what you're talking still 4.5 hour movie, right? If you stitched it all together. Now, WandaVision had about 10 minutes of credits. So if you take away the 10 minutes of credits, it's probably more 30 minutes of actual footage.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm curious.
No kidding.
By the way, I did want to say I almost forgot about the to go back to the Superman Justice League movie. They did film it. I don't know if you read this too. They filmed it in a different, like a 4:3 ratio as opposed to widescreen. Did you read this as well?
No, I did not.
So
I did not read that at all.
So the way Snyder, when he originally made the movie, he made it originally for IMAX. IMAX has kind of the square viewing, right? But when Whedon took over, it was just he had a different take on it, so he ended up making it more widescreen, like you see with most movies these days. So when we do watch it on HBO Max, you're gonna see the 2 black bars on the sides. It's gonna be a little bit more of a square ratio on the TV screen. Yeah, okay. So and you could see it in the trailers. Like if you see the trailers, you see the black bars on the sides, and it's like, oh, that's strange. And then as I look more into it, it's that Snyder did that on purpose. I guess it was his artistic decision to do it that way because he wanted to show this movie more so on IMAX and give that experience of watching it on IMAX. But when he
what a
went back
bummer.
to redo it,
Okay.
it's gonna be a little weird. So it might even be a little distracting as you watch it, but keep that in mind as you watch it. Look for those black bars, and it's like, oh, this is weird. Why? It's like you're gonna be checking the settings on your TV. It's like, did I not set this right? Why is it not in widescreen? So
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
don't try to mess with the TV. That's how they're gonna show it.
So this is your friendly warning. It's not your TV. It's the
Yes.
actual movie that's the problem. Okay. That's fair. All right, Big Meat. Well, I was hoping we gave our buddy Jarvis some time to jump on, but he still hasn't jumped on. So maybe hopefully we'll catch some of this conversation with us. There's no holding back. We got to jump into the NFL.
Let's do
It's
it.
just too much to talk about. All right. If you're living under a rock, you might not have known. Bill Belichick went nuts. He's on a mission to rebuild the Patriots. There's something, for some unknown reason, he's a little extra motivated. And they can say, well, he has more money now. That's why he's motivated. I don't know if it's just the money. I think he's got a little fire under his ass. I don't know if Kraft was like, start spending money or I'll lose my mind on you or what happened, but our man delivered and went nuts. And it's good because when we did our previous podcast, we talked about some of the holes that we felt were in the Patriots offense and defense, and a lot in the defense. They were a good defense, but they couldn't stop the run. They weren't getting the sacks, and that was only their real weakness. Like they weren't terrible, but they weren't good with the run. Like they defending against the run, and they went out and they picked up how many defensive ends? One defensive end, a nose tackle, an inside linebacker, and soft safety during free agency. So some serious improvements just from free agency. It's not even including the draft now that we still have to wait for. So what do you think? Where do you want to start? Like there's so much. You want to start on the defense?
There is so much. To your point, I do think Belichick was eventually going to spend, and I agree. I think he had that extra motivation this offseason for sure. They did have a lot of money, and I think eventually they were going to spend the money. I was more surprised how quickly he jumped in. That's not his style to go out and all of a sudden just sign a bunch of free agents. He waits till all the other big free agents come out, and then he could start signing other guys, middle of the road guys for cheap money. And that's what we're used to year after year. And this year he said, no, I'm going to go out and sign a whole bunch of guys. So I like it. I like this aggressive approach. Even some of the guys that he signed, I mean, I'm happy with. I like a lot of the guys they signed, some good players. But when we did our free agent list a week or two ago, I don't remember any of those guys being top 5 or even top 10 free agents.
I know. I don't recall any of them.
Maybe the guy from Baltimore, the linebacker there, maybe he might have been top 10 on a lot of people's free agent list, but it's not like he went out and got Galladay and Trent Williams and like the top of the list kind of guys. But they were good guys. They were like maybe from between 10 and 30, like in that range on the free agent list.
All right. So due to technical difficulties, hopefully I'm going to just kind of repeat myself here. But Matt Judon that they signed, the Baltimore inside linebacker, they paid him for $56 million. 4 years for $56 million. Was he, based on what you've seen so far, was he the highest paid free agent signing that you've seen so far at this point for a defensive lineman or for a defensive player?
For defensive player, huh? I know he's the.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's the highest paid guy for the Patriots got at 4 years at $56 million. I know Jonnu Smith was 4 years, $50 million. But, and of course, we talked earlier about Trent Williams being that monster contract for offensive linemen. But for defensive guys, I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't remember any other big free agent defensive guys signing for big bucks like that. Not even JJ Watt.
Well, that's what I mean. I was wondering because did Belichick pay the premium? Because we were just talking about earlier how he paid for the top tight end, right? But he typically doesn't pay a premium for like a wide receiver. Like he won't pay that big price that a number one wide receiver typically costs. but he'll pick certain positions that he will pay a premium for that position, but they're not the highest paid positions on the field, right? And when I think of Judon, I'm like, well, that he did pay a good amount of money for him, and did he kind of go out of his comfort zone and pay a premium for Judon compared to everybody else that was a defensive player signed that day? And I was trying to see if I could figure out anything, but I'm not sure. I haven't heard any comparisons like that. But yeah, you're right. He is the highest paid that Belichick. For all the signings, he was the highest paid player.
It's easy to look this up, but big defensive signings this offseason. He might be the biggest one. Like I said, he was a guy that was in the top 10. If I remember the list of free agents, and we looked at a couple of different lists, and he was right there between like 7 and 10. That was his ranking of all free agents, not just defensive guys, but all free agents. He was right there in the mix between 7 and 10. So they got themselves a good player. He does come from Baltimore. It does scare me a little bit. Jarvis mentioned this as well the other day when they first signed him, is that Baltimore kind of has a way of doing things there. And when people come to the Patriots, they I guess their reaction to that is, oh shit, like we actually have to actually go to work. Like we actually have to, we can't, there's no fun anymore, and so it's a little bit of that Adelius Thomas factor. He came here and he just was complaining and didn't like the Belichick style of coaching, and he ended up leaving. Well, he ended up getting cut. So I hope that's not the case with this guy.
I haven't got any indication. I haven't got any indications of that, because has he come down like as a player? Adelius Thomas, didn't he already have a reputation before he signed with the Patriots of having an attitude on and off the field?
I don't remember. I mean, this was way back in 2006, 2007. So who knows?
But wasn't that whole Ravens team had a shitty attitude? Like that whole Ray Lewis, didn't all those guys, weren't they like a group of like known assholes? Like I thought that was them. Like didn't they have that attitude? Like they shit don't stink kind of players. And then he went to a team that he was probably pushed by Belichick. He wanted more out of him, and he didn't like it. I think that's just my hunch, but I don't know. So I did find the Rams did sign Leonard Floyd. They re-signed him. He's their outside linebacker, and they re-signed him 4 years for $64 million. So
there was Trey Hendrickson as well of the Bengals. They brought him in for 4 years, $60 million.
Okay, so there were some players that made a little bit more money. I was just looking for linebackers. Like the Ravens signed Matt. We signed Matt Hudon. I'm just looking at what we signed, but so yeah, I was just trying to see what Leonard Williams got 3 years for $63 million. So I think he got maybe the bigger money for 3 years. For 63.
Yeah. Shaquille Griffin ended up going to Jacksonville on a 3-year deal worth $44.5 million.
Okay.
So yeah, there were some big signings, but I hear what you're saying with Belichick. I mean, I don't think he broke the bank with any of these guys. I think he signed them at reasonable dollars. I mean, Cam Newton was the first one that came out last week, and people weren't really thrilled about it, me included. Now I know, R3 is going to listen to this and he's going to say, "Well, you're on the fence now." I have to say, now after all these signings, I am rooting for Cam Newton. So I just want to be clear. I'm rooting for Cam. I think he's a good guy. I think everything you hear, he's a good leader on the team. Belichick loves him. I want him to succeed. I'm a Pats fan. I want the Pats to succeed. I've seen enough of Cam Newton last year that I'm not convinced that he could throw the ball anymore. But you start surrounding him with enough weapons, and if the system is better with the Patriots, and I'm talking about run the ball a little bit more like that, maybe Cam Newton could be successful with this. If their defense is strong and their run game is strong, then Cam Newton could succeed. And as I'm talking about Cam Newton, here is our favorite third man in joining us as we speak.
Just in time to vomit by listening to Meat's logic, trying to make, just like, as the wind blows, here comes Meat.
No. Here I want to be clear. I want to be extra clear. I still don't like the signing. they did sign him for cheap money. Once it was all said and done, we realized, it wasn't really that much. And if he hits all of his incentives, that's just a good thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope at the end of the season, Cam Newton is the comeback player of the year. But what is that going to mean? Is he going to throw 30 touchdown passes? Not a chance. I think it's going to be maybe 20 touchdown passes and maybe 10 rushing touchdowns. Will that be good enough? I guess. I don't know. It all depends on how good their running game is, how good their defense is, and if he doesn't screw up and make stupid mistakes. Then I'm happy, and I'm okay with it.
I need some fresh voice, Jarvis. You got to jump in and just knock some sense into this guy. I mean, how can you make a case for Cam Newton? I hope Belichick is going to bring some competition. Everything that I'm hearing on the radio and the expert, everybody's saying there's another move that's going to be made for a QB, regardless if it's the draft or another free agent out there. Something's going to happen. And I did hear on the radio, because we kept on talking about the money, they were saying that with all the way they structured all these contracts, there's still $30 million for them to sign players. Did you guys hear that? Is that true?
But it's more like more like 20 now if you include the draft picks that they have to save a little bit for that. But they're roughly at 20 million right now.
Okay. You can get a quarterback for $20 million.
Yeah, and they just signed who was the guy today? Ted Karras. Yeah, so who knows what I mean, that's only for like 4 million, and who knows what I guess 1 year, right? Was it 1 year?
Yep.
Yeah.
4 million. So
they do need a running back. They do need a third down back, because I don't think they're signing Burkhead back. Doesn't sound like he's coming back, and James White is being seduced by our man Tom Brady to get him down to Tampa. So he's being wooed by those guys down there. So they will need a third down back, a receiver. I don't know if Damian Harrison can play all three. Well, I guess they still got Sony Michel. I mean, could from one of them transition to become the third down back?
Sony Michel. If you want Jarvis to really throw up right now, you just got to mention Sony Michel. I don't know if he could handle Sony Michel and Cam Newton in the same sentence.
Oh, well, anyways, I'm throwing it out there. There's still a couple needs. They do need a third down back. If they're not going to transition one of those guys to take that role,
is still out there. You're right, Chris Carson. Damian Williams just got cut today by the Chiefs.
Oh, that'd
another
be
guy.
I haven't seen Gio Bernard. Like, that was a name that was earlier that I mentioned on the podcast that some people thought.
You're obsessed with Gio Bernard.
No, I'm not obsessed. I'm just saying he was a name that was thrown out as someone, and for a James White
role. You're the only one throwing his name out. I have not heard his name once.
I did not. I quoted the guy, and I don't remember who quoted that article. I did not. That was not my idea. I don't want Gio Bernard. I had him on my team last year in fantasy. He sucks. So I don't want him.
Mixon. He also sucks.
I love it how Azar says sucks. He says sucks. That guy sucks.
Oh, this is terrible.
Just to catch you up, Jarvis, we're just talking. We like the Matt Judon acquisition. Meat's got some concerns because of his Baltimore background, his roots from Baltimore.
Yep.
CBS graded it out of the picks that he made that day. He was the second best free agent signing based on the grading for the Patriots. They gave him an A-. The Patriots an A- for that acquisition.
No surprise. Got him from a rival.
But no surprise. The number one, the person that got the highest grade was an A. Was Jonnu Smith was the highest grade for acquisitions. So not too bad. I guess they think very highly of this acquisition for the Patriots.
Yes, and so did I at 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Matt Judon, man, he's 28, 29 years old. Like, I'm glad they did it, but it reeks of, like, he's going to come in. He was, a big sack master, whatever, but like those guys, Von Miller and all them that get the highs, Shaq Barrett, they get to freelance and like take off after the quarterback if they see a weakness. And Belichick wants to scheme, and he likes guys that can fill roles. And like, do you pay $56 million for a role linebacker, or do you want somebody that you can unleash? And like Willie McGinnis was a freakish enough athlete where like that's the last linebacker that I can think that was like high-end talent, but also thrived on the Belichick defense. Like Vrabel, similar a little bit, but like really played him and Ninkovich kind of, they weren't as dominant, at least in my memory, against the run. But McGinnis was, and so I don't know. I just Matt Judon, Adalys Thomas
was drafted by Parcells,
way before by Parcells. I'm not trying to compare. I'm just saying, like, name me the last outside linebacker that thrived in the Patriots system that came from somewhere else or that came from somebody other than Belichick. And like, I really can't think, you know what I mean? Like,
I think Vrabel was really good. He came in. He
wasn't, I mean, Vrabel was good. I'm not trying to say he was bad. And I'm not trying to say Ninkovich was bad, but Ninkovich came, you know, I don't know.
I think what you look at too is the numbers, right? A lot of the defense, especially with linebackers and the defensive line, you know, Belichick's defenses, they never produce a lot of sacks. It's not those wow like playmaker. They're just solid, right? They stop the run. They do their job.
They'll
dare
pressure
I say,
the quarterback,
do their job.
But like you don't know where the pressure is going to come from. Is the whole idea? It's not like
Right.
Chandler Jones lines up on the left. You know he's coming on the left. Like he's a rush specialist. Jamie Collins lines up on the left. You don't know if he's going to drop back into coverage. Like Jamie Collins was really a good fit. Is Matt like I like to see that Jamie Collins type athlete that can come out and cover the pass or turn around, put one foot in the ground and get upfield after the quarterback. Judon, you know, I don't know if he has that second element to get out in coverage. Because I just don't know. And I won't pretend that like I say he can. I don't think Baltimore schemed him that way. So I get worried. What is it going to look like if Belichick schemes him that way and he pulls a Michael Bennett on us and he's like, I just want to rush the passer, get out of here with this 2 technique, 4 technique crap. So I mean, obviously they had to have these conversations or he wouldn't have signed here, right? So I'm assuming that there's a harmony in the scheme that fits for him, but because of that, I can't be like, oh, Matthew Judon's going to be like, I don't know, is he going to fit or not? You know, Jalen Mills, the D-back, you know, anybody from Philly, I think, has a little bit of cancer in him. So, I mean, I wasn't excited about that because Philly was a hot mess last year. And the tight ends, including Boston Scott, the tight ends are great. I'm glad he signed them both. And that was, you know, one of the biggest needs. I'm perplexed over the wide receivers. And here's why is because I think, and you guys may have seen me mention this earlier, like none of these guys have been signed yet that are actually better than who we signed. So what if we threw any of these contracts? Like, so the what I was hearing is that the wide receiver market isn't as high as like Galladay. Who's out there? Galladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, that Curtis Samuel is out there. Antonio Brown's even out there. Will Fuller is the other one. Thank you. And none of these guys are being signed, but we have Aguilar, Brickhand Aguilar for 2 years, $26 million. And Kendrick Bourne. You could, Azar, if I asked you who Kendrick Bourne was 2 weeks ago, you'd have no idea.
That's not true. I drafted him.
No, you
for
didn't.
A week or two.
No, you didn't. Get out of here. You did not.
I was desperate. I needed a player.
No.
He's the guy in the Bourne identity.
Exactly right. There's no chance anybody was like, oh, we got Bourne for 3 years from San Fran. What a steal. When you're looking at Marquise Goodwin, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, like he was garbage to them and we paid him. Paid him. Like, what if Juju Smith-Schuster signs for that? And we're sitting here like thumb up our ass with Nelson Brickhands Aguilar? Come on. So, like,
Aguilar had a little bit of a he had his best year last year.
Here's why I'm so negative.
Listen,
like those are circumstantial, right? Because
maybe they're getting Derek Carr. Maybe it's part of the master scheme of they're going to bring Derek Carr now.
I am negative. Azar, I'm going to tie it all back in. I am so negative because it's Cam freaking Newton, right? And if you go back to how you felt when they signed Cam Newton, think of how that's going to feel day one when they roll out Cam Newton, because he was the start of all this. I don't know if we're going to get Deshaun Watson. Yeah, he's got a $10.5 million cap hit this year. I just don't know. And even if we combine with the Jets or combine with, which I don't think we'll do, or combine with San Francisco to combine assets so that Watson goes to San Fran, we get Garoppolo, and Houston ends up with all of the picks in trade assets, right? Great. Or Denver. Denver was the other rumor I heard, right? So we'll combine with Denver, but Denver's going to give us what? Nothing. They have nothing. Drew Lock. Like, come on. So I can't get excited for all these free agents because it's all for freaking Cam Newton or at best Mac Jones at best.
So, now you're speaking my language, Jarvis. So I'm thinking, I still believe in what I said a few weeks ago is that, I mean, it seems pretty obvious at this point that they want to run the ball, right? They're building up their defense. They want to try to run the ball. They weren't going to get Galladay and, any of the big name. I think those guys are probably asking for a lot too much money.
But they are. But my point is, what if they don't get it? and they take what Aguilar got or Kendrick Bourne.
It would be it would be a little bit disappointing. It would be. No, I agree. I agree. But that hasn't.
See this shaking
but
out
why
any
would they
other
take
way.
that kind of money though? Why you're basically assuming they're going to take low money?
Yeah, you can't.
There's no sign.
What are they
going to
do? Be unemployed?
No, but then someone.
What are they going to do? Go unemployed? Like,
yeah,
somebody will get them. Somebody will get them.
But I'm saying,
pay them money
for Kendrick Bourne money. Kendrick Bourne,
or I think someone will pay him. I think they're going to. You'll be surprised. Someone's going to sign him.
I'm convinced that they're okay. So here's the thing: you may be right dollar for dollar, but for $1 million or $2 million more, you wouldn't take Juju Smith-Schuster.
Hold on. Let me back up. Well, let me tell you something about Juju Smith. Juju Smith. Trying to say that 10 times fast. Juju Smith. Is it Schuster or Schuster? Yes. Everybody always says Schuster.
He's a shyster. He's not worth the money.
He's more concerned about his social media account nowadays than it is football.
Listen,
so
don't worry about the individual. You have 4 receivers that are better than what we signed, right? Will Fuller's a better talent. Schuster's a better talent. I'm not
looking at talent, right? Talent is one thing. I think.
What do you want to look at? Oh, you're right. You're supporting Cam Newton, so clearly
no. I'm looking at the smarts behind the player. If Belichick looks at these guys and says, you know what, these guys are knuckleheads. They're not going to come in. They're not going to learn the playbook. They don't have the football IQ that I'm looking for. Yeah, they're talented, but they're going to come in here like another Joey Galloway, another Chad Ochocinco. They're going to come in here and just, I don't care how talented they are. Maybe that's how he's looking at it. Now Galladay is young, very talented. I think he's going to get big. Somebody's going to pay him big money. I mean, you're going to tell me team out there is going to. I think other guys.
I would rather have Jamison Crowder, who's a little older, but he put up. He played 8 or 9 games last year, 8 or 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, we know you love Jamison Crowder. He was on your fantasy team.
Well, Aguilar had 8 touchdowns, and he had over 896 yards. I mean, I know he's got brick hands, but
Jamison Crowder doesn't have brick hands. That's the difference. That was a potent offense. Listen, you're not going to tell the Raiders weren't a bad offense.
No, they weren't. I was going to say something that I'm like, well, we have Cam Newton, so that doesn't really matter.
Right. So that's the point. And then the other thing was like, tell me that that's fine, but then turn around and try to explain to me why Belichick was pursuing AJ Green today. He lost out to the Cardinals. It was between the Cardinals and the Patriots for AJ Green. So your nonsense about Younger and he doesn't want this garbage bonehead Ocho Cinco.
You're sounding very angry today, Jarvis. Let's wait a minute. Let's reel you back in. Listen,
this team. You just took $1 billion paint job and forgot to fix the engine.
Listen, you're assuming this is the team. This is it. We're going into the team with this is our team. The Patriots still have $20 million to spend. Who's to say they don't get Will Fuller? Who's to say that they don't trade for Deshaun Watson and then sign Will Fuller because
that's different.
They're buddies, right? Imagine Watson throwing to Fuller again. It's like
if you're
Gardner
telling me
Minshew is getting some interest. I just read that Gardner Minshew is getting some interest.
I would be more excited for this team if Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. Like we're all forgetting. Like I don't understand this whole thing about the Patriots are going to be this smash mouth running team. You saw Cam Newton run the ball last year. You saw him get stuffed to lose the game multiple times. You saw him fumble the ball.
He had 12 rushing touchdowns. He's not
how many goal line trips?
We were in the red zone. He's not fast. He's not fast like he used to.
God.
But I could rely on him if they're on the 1 yard line.
You can rely on him to what? To lose to Seattle, to fumble against Buffalo, to get stuffed against the Bills, to lose against San Fran because he lost all.
I blame that on COVID. It's all on COVID.
Those were before COVID. He didn't get COVID to the Chiefs game.
Roper's rubbing off on Jarvis. He's got this like blind aim.
Exactly.
Cam Newton is not a good runner anymore. He cannot throw the ball down the field accurately.
That we can agree on. He cannot throw the ball down
laser.
the field.
This guy throws a laser everywhere. If you are 40 yards down the field on a go route, you're getting a laser. Cam Newton. You're gonna take a dig route. You're gonna run. How about a swing pass from the backfield? You're getting 100-mile-an-hour laser. That's all Cam Newton has. He winds up. The ball comes from back here, and it's a freaking missile. And he's throwing it at the dirt, behind guys into the defense's numbers. Like there's nothing about Cam Newton that anybody, R3 or the rest of them, can tell me that he's better than any other quarterback that not only was available, it's just in the league. Just anywhere.
Well, right now there's nobody available. I think Trubisky is the only quarterback that's left.
I take Trubisky. I would take Trubisky.
Yeah, there's some stuff's going to happen. That. I think something's going to happen. I like even like the two tight ends they brought in.
He can't throw the ball. Right. What are you going to do with two tight ends that can stand in the red zone with a guy that can't throw it in the red zone?
Yeah.
He throws missiles. You could stand there and put your hands up, and he's not throwing the ball with any sort of touch. He's throwing the ball like a freaking fastball right through their hands. Like he's gunning it no matter what. 10 yards to the red zone, he's throwing a missile.
So to your point, I was going to say, because the tight ends they picked up, the stuff that I heard on them from the people that are more football minded that they bring in that follow the team, they're not considered blocking tight ends. They're middle of the road blocking tight ends. But if they're going with Cam Newton for that power formation and using them for the run game, he brought the wrong tight ends in because Jonnu Smith is not a blocking tight end. No, so he's a good red zone. He's
decent. He's decent blocking. He's
middle of the road.
But they said he's gotten better every year. He's been
in the scheme in Tennessee. They didn't use him in that role. So they're saying that he has more potential blocking than he was used for, and more potential passing than he was used for.
I give you guys that.
I'll give you the assessment of Hunter Henry. He's more of a Travis Kelce. He's not blocking.
That's my point is that I think that's why I have a feeling there's going to be another quarterback to compete with Cam Newton that's more of a passing quarterback. Because why bring in those kind of talents that are great red zone targets and not have a guy that can throw them the ball?
But I think Azar does have a point there. But I did hear Henry is a better blocker than Jonnu Smith, which was surprising. I read that.
But again, scheme it, right? So it's the Chargers have a zone running. They've always had that zone running. Big running back. With the tight ends, everybody picks a lane and blocks it out. So I'm sure he's been in that situation more. Azar, here's the rebuttal to you. Why let David Andrews go, who's your main signal caller on offensive line pass protection, to bring in Ted Karras, who's a bigger, slower, run blocking center, where Andrews is a far superior athletic blocking
Maybe Andrews
center.
wants a lot more money.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wants a ton of money. Tooney they tried to bring Tooney back. He asked for a lot more money. Who did he sign with? The Giants? So
Tooney was the second biggest O lineman on the free agent market. David Andrews is a center who was undrafted or a 7th round pick or something. I think he was undrafted. He's never been all pro. I think he's Pro Bowl, but I don't know if he's ever been all. The market is not going to command $10-15 million a year for him. So fine, we paid Ted Karras $4 million.
I think it's easy to just say, because this offseason
where are your priorities? If you're trying to tell me that you're bringing all this stuff in, you put the main guy that makes your offense run for the idiot behind you that can't figure out a defense. You're going to let him go.
Well, you still got to draft Jarvis. Well, he's got a high pick in the draft. He could get an offensive lineman if he wants.
Draft your 3rd down running back and stop spending money on Gio Bernard.
But see, this is where I was getting at. So this offseason, more than any other year, I've looked at the numbers, the cap situation. I've put like my general manager hat on more so this year than any other year, and I feel like I understand it a little bit better now as the job of a general manager, which in this case it is Bill Belichick. It's easy, and this is what a lot of typical fans would say, right? They see a free agent and they say, "Oh, he's great. Go sign him, get him, do whatever you need to go get him." They don't know the salary cap issue. They don't know how much money he's asking for. They don't factor any of that stuff in there. So when you look at somebody like David Andrews, yeah, I would love to get him back. He's a center.
But I believe I've
always had a good center. But what if Andrews just says, "Nope, I want to be the highest paid offensive lineman. I just saw Trent Williams sign a record contract. I want maybe not his kind of money, but close to it." Belichick's going to say, sorry.
David Andrews has come out in the past and said, "I will take a team-friendly discount to stay home. I don't want to move."
Well, I think when the time comes when he signs, whether it's with the Patriots or with another team, we could have that discussion and say, and again, that's what he had, because we don't know what we don't know.
Right, you're right, but I think that the number is going to be much lower than we're assuming it is for him to walk. And we brought in Ted Karras, who's more of a running
I feel like you
runs
hate
blocking
this
center.
team, Jarvis. Do you hate the Patriots now? Do you
He's
think
such
they're
a
going to be
Tampa
worse
fan
than they
now.
were? It's like they just signed. Belichick just went mad. He just lost his complete
So Felger.
friggin'
He's so
mind
Felger. He's just
in
angry.
free agent.
Listen,
And
Snake
all
Pig.
I've heard is just negativity. It's just, are you not excited? Are you not
No.
entertained, Jarvis?
No, I am not, because you may have put new rims on the car. You may have given it a new paint job, but it still doesn't start. You didn't fix the freaking ignition.
As black as the weekly black cat makes his appearance on the podcast.
How do you like, what good is Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith
Well,
if
I think
you can't throw them the ball? What good is Nelson Aguilar sprinting down the field and Bourne replacing Edelman in the slot? Like, what good are these guys if you're throwing at their feet, bouncing it behind them, overthrowing them? Like, what good is
they got to
it?
run the ball 60% of the time. And
So
if
then
Damian
why did we
Harris,
just spend all this money on wide receivers and tight ends to catch a pass when we're a running team?
I think they were friendly contracts. They were friendly contracts.
Azar,
Cam Newton's just a 1-year deal. He's a bridge guy.
I'm
for
so
Mac
mad.
Jones. They're gonna play Cam Newton. They're gonna see what else he's got in the tank.
I'm so mad.
And
they
then
re-signed
midway
Cam
through
Newton
the
first.
season, Mac Jones is going to take over as a starting quarterback.
But
no,
Cam Newton,
I don't want to see Cam Newton week 1.
I'm not sure if it was like Zolak or who said this, but they made a good point. Cam Newton coming on, or maybe it was one of their guests. Cam Newton is like the insurance. Let's lock him up. We got him. We know what we got, but we're going to shop. And that's what everything I'm hearing is, because if they let him go and say, and now they have Stidham, and if everything falls through, they're stuck with Stidham. But at least
they
I
could draft
think they
someone.
realize
You could draft a shithole at 15. At least they
yeah,
drafted
but you're not.
someone.
But that's no better. That's no better. You might as
yeah.
well
It's
stick
no
with
worse.
Cam Newton. I'd
If
rather
Cam
have Cam
Newton was
Newton.
a multi-year deal for big money, then I'd be concerned. It's a 1-year deal. They know what they have in him. Maybe he comes back and he learns the playbook a little bit better, even though his accuracy sucks.
There's nothing in the playbook. There's nothing that's going to make him better unless he physically gets a new motion, like works on his mechanics. If you tell me that Cam Newton fixed his because Azar, he's posting, let's run it back. I'm going to come back and do it again. Like the thought of this guy starting for a whole season and having the arrogance that it's actually going to manifest into something worth watching is mind blowing.
I do want to go back to Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, because the caveat there, and you touched on it, Jarvis, about throwing them the ball, and something Cam Newton probably won't be able to do. If people are thinking they're going to be the next Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, you're going to be disappointed, because
they should go to Tampa Bay.
They're not at that level. They're not at that talent level like those two guys. They should go to Tampa Bay. You're right. If you look at their numbers now, I like Jonnu Smith, right? He was a big red zone threat for Tennessee last year, but Hunter Henry, he's a good tight end, but look at his numbers. Other than the fact that he's injury prone, if you look at his numbers year after year, he's never really put up big numbers. I think the most yards he's ever had was maybe 800 receiving yards. It's not like he's had Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Gronkowski type years. He's never had that in the last 5 or 6 years he's been in the league. So we've seen glimpses of it. He's a good tight end, but I mean, people are expecting Hunter Henry to come in and be this team's Travis Kelce. It's not going to happen. So hopefully the everyone's expectations are limited with those two guys. It is exciting to just have a tight end on the team and have two tight ends, because they're definitely better than anybody they've ever had last year.
Let me challenge that thinking. I don't think, like, in fantasy wise, I remember a lot of hype about Hunter Henry. He's going to be the guy. This matchup is in his favor. I always felt like if you picked him up and tried to play him, he never was like the centerpiece of the offense. Like he wasn't he wasn't Travis Kelce. Like Travis Kelce is a centerpiece of the offense. Like a lot of plays flow through Travis Kelce. I always felt there was a lot of hype that Hunter Henry is that guy, but the game plan never played out. And I'm just wondering, like when you think of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, the game plan flowed through those two players. And I wonder if you bring Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry and you design the plays through those guys, maybe their production, maybe they'll be not as good as those two, that combination, but they could be highly productive guys.
They could be better. They could be better than what they've had in their career. Sure.
Because even Jonnu Smith wasn't the focal point of the offense, right? There were some plays designed for him, but he wasn't like you, because you drafted him last
Henry's team.
Yeah, you drafted him with that expectation, like they're going to throw, like he's going to be one of their main receivers. He's going to get a lot of looks. He didn't get a lot of looks.
They also had A.J. Brown and Corey Davis.
Exactly. So it ended up being where he wasn't the focal point anymore. But in this offense, are you going to throw to Jonnu Smith or Aguilar? Right?
I do love Jonnu. Is that why Jarvis was chuckling there?
Jonnu, whatever.
I do got to say with Jonnu, I love what he came out and said today. He said that Foxborough is going to get the hardest working guy coming through to Foxborough. I love that attitude. I love, Jarvis isn't buying it. I do love that attitude of him coming in here and saying that, because he is a monster of a man.
Guys,
and as Azar knows, I love my monsters. My manly monsters.
Monster tight ends. You love monster tight ends. Yes.
First of all, Cam Newton also said you're going to get a guy that works harder than anyone. And where did that get us? Right. So that whole
he works hard. He just sucks. Hey, look I work hard when I try to play a sport. I'm not good at it, but I'll give you all my effort.
But Azar, you at least know that you don't show up being like, give me the ball, I'm playing quarterback. Like Cam Newton, but Jarvis, is still doing that.
When's he going to go out there and say, look, guys, I lost a step? He's got to have this. He's got to believe in himself. Like, he can't come out there and say
retirement.
Yeah, but I think.
Oh, jeez. You know who Jarvis is? I think Jarvis is that kid in disguise at Cam Newton's at football camp. That was making fun of Cam Newton. You're a free agent. You're a free agent. That was you. That was you, Jarvis.
You're going to be broke.
Listen, if they didn't sign Cam Newton, I would be doing backflips over this free agency splurge that they went on. I would say it's about time. 20 years, finally, Belichick spending money, rebuttal against Tom Brady. If he didn't start the whole damn thing with signing Cam Newton, I just can't do it. And to hear that when I jumped on, that's where you guys were starting.
He is Felger.
Like, we started talking. We didn't start with Cam Newton. You jumped on at the Cam Newton.
That was later.
It's like
you just caught the beginning and the beginning of the Cam Newton conversation.
It doesn't matter. First word out of your mouth that I signed on for was Cam Newton. I just went, even though you were talking about Matthew Judon, it was Newton, and it was. I can't.
But you truly are Felger. That's it. Sounds like I'm listening to the radio and I'm listening.
You love Aaron Rodgers. And no matter what the pitchers do, you're angry.
Felger hates Aaron Rodgers. First of all,
he's from Wisconsin.
Felger hates Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So we are not like there. Second,
I think he's full of shit when he talks about.
He's not full of shit. He dogs him all the time. Anyway, second, I don't always hate on what the Patriots do. I hate everything involving Cam Newton. There's a difference. If they bring in Deshaun Watson, Garoppolo, Sam Darnold, Mitch Trubisky, who else is out there? Anybody off the draft board. If they do anything, my tune will change. Who? Mac Jones. I'm go Tide. I hope that we have freaking elephant heads in that crowd come September, because I just want to be excited for this team. I just want to see a competitive product that even if we suck, I don't know we suck if we have another quarterback, because I have the theory that Belichick can do something. I know we're going to suck with Cam Newton. I know Cam Newton can't do anything. He can't throw the ball. Every time he runs the ball, nothing happens. And they grind up garbage time yards to where we all sit on a podcast and go, oh, he had 8 touchdowns and 1,000 yards rushing. That was great. But it's in blowouts when they're playing prevent defense and they let them run the clock out. Like, why is nobody like R3's the worst? He's like, oh, you're not going to get anybody better than Cam Newton out there. You could roll a corpse that you pump full of air and deflate, and the ball would go more accurately than Cam Newton.
Oh my God, so harsh.
He's terrible.
So harsh.
All right. For the second time.
So bad.
I want to tell you, because we know, because the Cam Newton question, we can talk about it, but it's really going nowhere until we see what happens. Like, we're stuck with right now.
Which is why I'm angry.
Let's go back to the defense, just from a fantasy perspective.
Okay. I don't have to be so angry about that.
I think the moves they made on defense improved an already good defense, and I think the Patriots defense, now they're getting, I think Hightower is supposed to come back, right?
Mhm.
I haven't heard anything that he isn't coming back next year, right? Because he opted
No,
out.
he's coming
He's
back.
definitely coming back.
Yep.
So you got Hightower, you got Judon, you got a new defensive lineman. You got two defensive linemen. You got that guy Anderson. You got that guy Gottschalk that was injured with I don't know how good he's going to be.
I can't wait. I
Gotcha.
love that Azar can't say any of his names.
Is it?
How do you
Did
say
I
his
even say it
name?
right? Gotcha.
Godcho.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, I'm supposed to know that name.
So here's why you're not supposed to know his name, because he lost his job last year in Miami.
But
to
he was
a
injured.
Rookie.
He tore his bicep. That's not fair. He tore his bicep last year.
He sucked, and we paid him a lot of money.
Okay.
He's just ripping on the defense now.
No. So like,
do you not like? Who do you like? Who do you like that the Patriots brought in? Give me one
I like
guy.
the Judon. I like the Judon signing if he can fill the role.
Even though he's a Dalius Thomas 2.0.
So he hates
well,
Anderson.
he could be
He
Jamie
hates
Collins
Gottschalk.
2.0.
He hates.
I do hate Gottschalk.
He hates
I never
Mills.
said anything about Anderson. I don't know
Warren.
anything about Anderson.
Wait, what did you say? Pronounce his name, Jarvis? You
Gottschalk.
just said
Gottschalk.
That's what Azar said. You didn't hear him say that earlier?
I did. So you're just making fun of him. Okay. I thought you were
Mahomes.
really
You know,
pronouncing it.
hashtag
Yeah.
Mahomes.
All
Yeah,
right.
let's go.
I don't know how to pronounce it. They were stumbling on the talk radio. Like no one could say it correctly. I'm like, well, someone's gonna say it. I don't know. Bastards.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Jamie.
I can't talk because I said Najee, Najee, the running back. Najai. I gotta say.
Oh yeah, but that's
and
not like.
Etienne.
Yeah, all right, but those they play in college. You're not supposed to know their names, and you were really close.
Yes.
At least Godchuck. It's like it doesn't end in a UCK, and it's a.
I wrote it down.
Cho. It's French, and it's a O. It's
fuck the French. St. Patrick's Day. Fuck.
And
How much?
and I'm the one that's racist because I hate Cam Newton. You just. Okay.
I don't think
listen,
racist about the French.
I think the defense is going to be better. I do. I think they have to be better. But what makes me nervous is if J.C. Jackson stays, that's going to be a huge bonus because whatever happens to Gilmore can be covered. I don't know the deal about Jalen Mills. He was playing safety, but he is a traditional cornerback. So it reminds me of like Devin McCourty 10 years ago when he sucked playing cornerback. When we first brought him up, he was getting burnt. They moved him to safety, and then he became all pro. Like, okay.
I'm going to call it right now. Next year, Patriots are going to be top 3 defense.
Wow.
Okay, but explain to me though. Explain to me the role. Explain to me the role. You got Jalen Mills coming in to play corner because you drafted Kyle Duggar, who Antifa boy was like greatest draft pick ever. And I had to listen to that.
Division
shit.
3, Division.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So you got him and McCourty playing safety. You have Patrick Chung for like that linebacker hybrid safety, cover the tight end or whatever, and then you have J.C. Jackson, Jonathan Jones. Jalen Mills, like, is that what we have? If that's maybe Gilmore,
good secondary.
If that's how it rolls out, but if they brought Mills to play safety and now you're down a corner because you're jammed on the back end, like what? I don't know. I guess I need to see that one. If that's the way it plays out, then I'm in. I will give them credit for that, and let's take the high road and say that was their plan.
I think they were a good defense last year. Not great, but good. I think with the additions here, it's only going to make them even better. I think because they're going to run the ball now even more, that's going to keep the other offense more. I just see it. I just see what Belichick is trying to do. It's to me, I just feel like that's what he's working around. And I don't think he's done yet. I think Kyle Van Noy is out there. They might bring him back. I think there's guys that he's going to bring in, and who knows what he does in the draft. So I'm just looking at what he's doing with the team now, generally with the defense, and I'm taking them top 3 defense next year.
Yeah, I think still a lot of question marks to get answered.
So the 2 linemen you mentioned, Azar, Anderson and Chuck. I just don't know.
Godchuck sounds better.
Godchuck. They just truthfully, they haven't done in the brief analysis I did of them. Like they just haven't stood out as like game changing run stuffers. They're big, and that's their role. But to me, we need that three down middle linebacker and a big ox in the middle of that defense, just like a Vince Wilfork, Ted Washington, like that big mamma jamma up the middle that can take away the run and take a double team. I don't know if Godchuck can do that. I don't know if Anderson can do that because, again, I didn't watch enough Miami defensive line football. Or what was the other guy from Anderson's from the Jets, I think, right?
Yeah. And
So,
one
I
of
mean,
the
the Jets.
experts they had on the talk radio said Anderson's a sneaky good pickup.
Okay.
We'll look back and say that was a really good signing.
What about that kid they got from Tampa last year, Bo Allen? Because he's another one that they have under contract and was a sneaky good pick, but got hurt and we never saw him. So, like, it's the unknown. I'm really more saying the unknown. If they've addressed it and it's legit, I think they're one like roving middle linebacker that, that 3 down can cover, can rush the passer, like that impact linebacker. I think that's the last piece. And I think they should address that in the draft. If they can get the top ranked linebacker at 15, I say pass on Mac Jones at that point. You have a ton of draft capital later on. Try to get something, elsewhere. But if they can get, or vice versa, take Mac Jones and draft a linebacker in the second round. They need speed in the middle of that defense that can go sideline to sideline and get those, like the running back, the quarterback on a rollout, like those type of plays. If they have somebody, because look at what Mahomes faced in the Super Bowl. Anytime he rolled out or scrambled, granted he had, big meat turf toe. Anytime he rolled out, there was that David.
Which, by the way, I've never had turf toe. I don't know why.
That's you said true. You have.
You
yes,
definitely.
You have.
Well, maybe
that's
I
a
have.
whole new episode. That's another episode.
I don't even know the definition. If I had it on my toe, is it considered turf toe, or is it just a sore toe? If it's a sore toe, is that considered turf toe?
It's a sore toe.
No, you had a sore toe and you tried to pass it off that you had this turf toe injury.
Because it sounds cooler. It sounds cooler to say you have turf toe.
So I think that's what they're like. What Hightower was when we beat Atlanta. I think
what about the guys that they have existing on the team that could take a step up?
So I don't know.
Chase Winovich.
No, not Winovich, because for whatever reason they are all done with him. He's okay against the pass. He's terrible against the run because he keeps getting turned around and they blow by him, and that's why he keeps getting benched. I don't know about Uche and I don't know about Jennings. I think that those guys could be they could be players. I mean, Antifa certainly was excited about him when they drafted him, and Jennings is from Alabama.
I'm looking forward to the draft.
No, which one? One of them's from Alabama. One of them's from Michigan. It's legit. They're both legit schools.
Yeah, but Winovich didn't play a lot too. Like I think they're gonna make him play a little bit more now. I think he's ready to step up. I think he's ready to step up and take that next, because he's a little bit of a playmaker, a little bit of
Winovich was
a Clay Matthews type guy, and not just because he's got.
I don't know. You didn't read that. Azar said he had to go. He said I have to jump off. So it's just you and I. So we got to be careful because this could get real bad real quick.
We're going 3 hours, Jarvis. We're going.
We're going to end up. Hours. We're going to start on the Patriots. We're going to end on freaking Star Wars, Legos, and wrestling. We're going to cover it all tonight. We're going to run the gambit.
A little bit of Young Rock.
Don't even get me started. The Young Rock was so good.
Had no interest in.
He's a just
to go on a little bit of a tangent here with Young Rock, because all the hype in the commercials that The Rock was saying, you heard it all over and over in all the commercials. He said, I got some really cool stories about Andre the Giant. We're 4 episodes in and I'm still waiting for that cool story about Andre the Giant. When is that cool story going to happen? It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, what's
does he have? Does he have? Is he just?
I don't know. Think about it this way: when you were 5 years old and somebody picked you up by your ankles and held you up, you were like, "Oh, that was really cool." It just so happens it was Andre the Giant that picked him up by his ankles, and he thought it was really
him.
Cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah, right. Is that what we're doing? I don't know. If Andre the Giant picked you up when you were 5, you'd still be giddy about it. You know what I mean?
I would.
It just so happens he's The Rock, and
but The Rock is known for his big, charming personality that comes out. And in the show, when he's being interviewed, it's like he comes off like a friggin' potato. Like there's no personality that comes out of him at all. It's just almost, I'm so bored. Just get to the show. Just get to when he was younger. Get to that part of it, because I don't want to hear him talk too much. Anymore.
Like it's also too much about his father. And I know, out of respect, his father just passed away. So he's trying to give him a little bit of like, hey, my dad was a pretty good wrestler. He just never got the just due. So I feel like The Rock is doing this so that he can give his father he can put his father over, to use wrestling talk. It's what I felt like the first 4 episodes have been, is to be like, hey, you all didn't appreciate Rocky Johnson enough back then, because you were focused on Iron Sheik, Andre, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, like those wrestlers that because like think about it, WrestleMania 1 on, Rocky Johnson was gone from the WWF.
Yeah.
And
once it became mainstream, he
was big when it was a territory, and then once it went up, he went out. So, I think The Rock is trying to essentially put his dad back into the spotlight of like his place in wrestling history and making the WWF what it was. So I feel like that's what it was. So I try to wait for that shit to come and go. And that, like, the third episode was all that. So it was a yawn fest. But
sure,
the fourth episode, it started out with him at the U, and I can't help but to think that The Rock is like embellishing how his career started at the U.
Sure.
Taking on Cristobal in an Oklahoma drill and pancaking like the number one offensive lineman in the country. Like, come on.
I even just wonder just how true some of the little things are. Like, was
the
Two Live Crew? Did they really invite him? And was Michael Irvin really like the guy there that he was hanging out with at the party? And just little things like that. You know what I mean?
So the practice scene was legit. I think because Two Live Crew did go to the practices. Michael Irvin obviously was like fresh out of the U at that point, because he came out like the late 80s, and this is like early 90s. So like the Cowboys hasn't, like, that whole thing still
haven't even won a Super Bowl yet with
exactly.
Dallas,
So he's still more connected to the U than high flying number 88. So I did like, I like the subtlety. So like with the whole fanny pack black turtleneck sweater.
Yeah. Like that famous photo.
I showed I showed Jackie. I was like, look at the picture. This is, and she was like, oh, that's, and the references they make when they do those, and they're subtle and woven into the story. I was like, that was tasteful. I like how they did that.
I did like that part. Yeah, I do wonder if it was just a little bit of a callback to that outfit, or was that really the time that picture was taken?
Right.
Like, I want to know how accurate the story is, like the timeline, everything that's happened. Like, is it true, or is it just The Rock just trying to embellish a little bit and just trying to make an entertaining show?
I think he's embellishing, trying to make an entertaining show, because there's no plot. Like,
there isn't. No.
There's like,
no.
Because you don't even know at this point, is the end of the season him in the WWE, or is the end of the season him like running for president in 2032 or whatever the interview is? Because like, that's what the interview platform is, that he's running for president in 2034 or whatever. So like, where's the end of the season? And is the end of the season going to be that, or are they going to try to extend this to like multiple seasons? Like it just doesn't seem like it has that figured out, and it's just, oh, here's a story episode, oh, here's a story, I'm going to show you me in college, and then later on I'm going to show you me as a 5-year-old, and then we're going to be in Hawaii, and it's like,
it seems like the way they're setting it up, the next episode's going to be when he's 5, when he's the little kid, right? They haven't had that full episode yet where he's
it's every other episode. Like the first episode, he was a kid. The second episode, he was in Bethlehem, PA. The third episode, he was a kid in Hawaii. The fourth episode, he's in Miami. So it's like, like all over the place. And all I want to do is just make references and get to when you figured out like what you were cooking, because I want to smell it. That's all I want.
That's a good reference. Well, we've talked enough about young Rock here. That was a longer tangent that Azar's going to listen back to this.
He's going to be so
what
pissed.
The hell were you guys talking about?
I love every second
about young Rock for 10 minutes.
Because he left us. That's what happens.
He did. It is his fault. So now we're gonna go till the sun comes up.
Let's do it.
I mean, Azar, look at that. I still feel like Azar's on. This is kind of refreshing, Jarvis. I have to admit.
But don't you feel like Dad's spying on us now?
A little bit. I feel like I should pour myself another drink and really get wasted on this podcast.
We got Guinness tonight. Look at that.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I wished a happy St. Patrick's Day to Azar and his pseudo Irish ass earlier.
Well, I have a real Irish ass.
That's there you go. You're
just don't have an Irish. Yeah, the other side's not Irish. I want to put that on the record, because I know there's some comments out there. That's right.
I did want to say, just because of all the free agency signing, just go back to football a little bit here.
Sure. We were on the defense, if you want to come back to that, specifically Jennings and Uche.
Just generally speaking, I got to say, because I'm gonna pat myself a little bit on the back here, because if you listen back to a lot of our podcasts, in particular last week's podcast, but many others, before, right? Going back to the beginning of the year. I got to say, it's frightening how accurate I have been. Frightening.
God. Don't
just listen back.
Azar's not here. Kiss your own ass and
you
like,
could go
what
back.
do you want me to do here?
You could go all the way back to me calling the Bucks winning it all, and nobody, I don't care what R3 says. I mean, nobody picked the Bucks from winning except me. Not even the experts. Not even in the Super Bowl. You look at those pregame shows, everybody was picking the Chiefs. I was picking the Bucks not before the Super Bowl, before the friggin' playoffs even started. Okay. Then I predicted not only who they would beat, who they would face, how they would beat them. But anyway, all that's pretty well established. Let's move on to something a bit more recent.
Please, because I didn't stay on with you just to hear you gloat.
I do. I gotta get my point across here. I do.
You're 4 seconds away from me talking about the Young Rock again.
I have to get on. Well, hey, do you want us to talk about WonkaVision? I can go back to talking about WonkaVision if you like.
I'll make up my own takes.
We give you the full synopsis of WonkaVision.
Absolutely, and Falcon Crest or whatever you're talking about next. Let's go. We can I can do it.
Just in the past week, Jonnu Smith signing with the Pats.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I said that. Cam Newton coming back to the Pats. I know a few people were saying that, but I was pretty. I even gave a percentage. I threw out a percentage out there at last week's podcast that Cam Newton's going back. Patriots signing just a bunch of middle of the pack free agents to fill in spots, whatever. Trent being the next big offensive lineman, although the wrong Trent. I got the first name right though. I did get the first name right. So
yeah, but okay. So let me rebut that, because on the same token, I predicted that the big free agent signing would be a linebacker, right? I said the one from Tampa Bay. They ended up getting the one from Baltimore. I said that they would dip down to get Russell Okung or a lineman like that, somebody that's established. They get Trent Brown. All the positions, and I even said Jonnu Smith on the tight end. So all the positions, and I said Dalvin Tomlinson, because they need a nose tackle. They didn't get Tomlinson.
Don't try to steal my thunder here. Don't try to steal. This is my moment to gloat. This isn't your. Don't try to steal my gloating.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it look as good when you realize that I also called every position.
You were. Well, I talked about the he's going to look at the offensive line first.
You got names. I'll give you this. You were emphatic about Jonnu Smith more than anyone. Fine, and you did say Trent.
Now, wait a minute. To give you credit, I did say that Cannon would be cut, and you said it too. So you did say Cannon would be cut, and they would save $6 million off the cap, and that's exactly what they did.
They traded.
We both agreed Tooney will not resign, right? Mm-hmm. We both said that, so I'll give you credit for that. And I may not have mentioned it, but I swear on my kids' lives, I wanted to say after Jonnu Smith signed, and I was going to send this on the text ring, and I swear, the Pats would also sign Hunter Henry. I swear I was just about ready to text it. And I said, nah, I'm going to let the Jonnu Smith prediction that came true simmer for a bit. I didn't want to overdo it. So I said, you know what, whatever. But I just have a feeling they're going to go for that 2 tight end set, and they're going to go out and get Hunter Henry as well. And then later that day, Hunter Henry signed with the Patriots. And I said, well, now I can't say anything because that's going to make me look like a jackass. But I do gotta say, I do. You know what? At least an honest jackass. As an honest jackass. So I did want to say about that. So anyway, go ahead. You could continue to gloat about your predictions as well. This is our chance to gloat, Jarvis. Azar is not here to rein us in.
It's true, and
we have free will.
I believe our podcast speaks for itself. I would rather sit here and bash Antifa and R3 and COVID. Well, COVID boy doesn't really say much these days, but Roper and let's probe the listeners, because those angry fucks,
screw all those guys.
Angry fucks are. I would even say they're excited about Cam Newton being the quarterback,
except for Roper.
Except for Roper, that's true. He's got deeper level hatred for him. Hatred. And I don't. It might even extend, if we get Deshaun Watson, I think he would still have a certain level of hatred because they share something in common. I don't know. True. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo would be the only way that he would be happy.
I do. I'm gonna go back to just say real quick. I hear what you're saying about Cam Newton, and I'm in general agreement. I didn't like that they brought him back, even though I knew they were going to bring him back, and you're kind of just prepared for it. I've seen enough of him. He's never really been an accurate quarterback his entire career. He got worse. He got worse last year with the Patriots. That's not going to improve. That's not all of a sudden going to be like, oh, he's accurate now.
Nope.
But there's a part of his game that does intrigue me a little bit based on if they want to go with a ground and pound, run first. If he could just do a little bit of dinking and dunking, yeah, he's going to be inaccurate. He's going to misfire here and there. But he threw 8 touchdown passes last year.
How
with
many
the team around him. I don't know how many interceptions. He threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns.
I will go on record and say that Cam Newton will throw as many interceptions as touchdowns.
No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't see that happening. I think he's going to at least double his touchdown passes to 16. I was saying earlier.
Okay, then he'll double his picks. Whatever he does to the touchdowns, he'll do to the interceptions.
Yeah, I think he's going to be roughly 20 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, right around that. So it's a total of 30. Not a lot of passing yards. I just think he's going to just do enough. I just look at now he's a season under the Patriots. They hopefully have a preseason where they can actually do a little bit more and he could be better prepared. I don't know if it was just an excuse or not. When he said he got COVID, it took him 3 or 4 weeks to kind of get back into the swing of things. That might have set him back a little bit too.
Can we talk about this?
They didn't have Edelman. They had a lot of things going against him. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm not trying to. No, I'm just saying.
Let me ask you this. Hold on.
I could see a little bit of the little light at the end of the tunnel. I could see it. But I'm not
telling me that
overly convinced it's going to happen.
That Antifa.
I have faith.
Antifa had COVID, right? And is fine. Is running. He 40 days in a row. He's done a 5K. Some crazy 50 days in a row. You're telling me that Cam Newton, physical specimen, a freak athlete, perfect health, can't play football because he got COVID? How many other players got COVID?
I don't think it's more physical. I think it's more maybe mental. I think it's just you're in a little bit of a fog. You can't think clearly. I think running is not going to be an issue. I don't think any of that's
running
the ball
was a big issue.
I think it's just understanding, reading the playbook, reading the defense. You're out on the field. People are trying to take your head off, and you just can't process fast enough. And maybe that
because
a
of
little
COVID.
bit. Sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's an excuse or not. I don't know. But I'm a second chance kind of guy, Jarvis. I'm a second chance.
This was his second chance.
I want to give him another chance. I want to see
why.
Because I like his hats and I like how he dresses.
All right. You are the most honest person I've spoken to because I can get on board with that. The man has swagger.
And I liked how he said Belichick is dope as shit. That's he's the line of the year right there.
He's an entertaining guy. Off the field, he's
more so than I've ever thought. Before he came to the Patriots, I thought he was a diva, whatever. Yeah, exactly. I don't think like that anymore of the guy. I think he truly wants to do what he can to win and do everything he's got to do.
I will go on record, John, of saying that I agree with you on that take, that my impression of Cam as a person has gone a 180-degree flip, and he's actually pretty likable and entertaining. My thought of him on the field is that I would rather light the grass on fire and just burn whatever he steps on.
Would you rather have Stidham as quarterback?
Yep.
Oh my God! Then your hatred for Cam Newton really is deep.
Stidham,
it's
Hoyer,
really deep.
Anybody that can lob the ball over a defensive lineman and come down into a running back 10 yards away, just this lob pass.
Yeah.
I'm good. Give me that quarterback.
Well, look at all the guys that Belichick signed. He signed a lot of guys for multi-year deals, right?
Yeah.
So Cam Newton was just a 1-year deal. I almost think he did him a solid and just said, hey, come back, try to play well. We'll probably win a lot of games, but if you can perform well enough next offseason, you could sign a big contract somewhere else and then we can move on. But yeah, I think he's almost like doing him a favor. I do think they're going to bring somebody else in the draft, Mac Jones. And he is so Newton's a little bit of the bridge, you can almost kind of say Bledsoe to Brady a little bit, right? I mean, I know Bledsoe got injured And,
I would take
and then
Drew
Brady took
Bledsoe
over,
today over Cam Newton. Give me Drew Bledsoe out from the
but I
vineyard
like
half
Drew
drunk
Bledsoe. Oh, I do.
today,
Okay,
like
out of the
today.
vineyard, out of the vineyard half. Okay, his vineyard out in Walla Walla.
Washington, yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. He said, yeah, it's $100 bottle of wine out there. So anyway,
Yeah.
okay, fine. I'm gonna be done being angry. The Patriots. Here's what I will say: I will be angry if Cam Newton is the starter week 1 through whatever. If Cam Newton is not the starter or starts because of an injury, then I will say the Patriots did a good job this offseason. If they did all of this for Cam Newton and have made no attempt to bring anybody else in, my anger holds.
Well, it's all about winning, right? I don't really care how
Yeah,
they
and
do
I don't
it
think
as long
Cam
as they
Newton.
win.
We're not winning with Cam Newton.
Yeah,
was
well, he's not the
so-
long-term answer. That's for sure. That's nobody
was-
can argue that. He's not the
he-
long. He's not the
last
guy that's
year-
going to be here years from now.
Last year was the short-term experiment, and like they blew the factory up. They decided that we can't even. The product wasn't even worth saving. They just scrapped it and went, research and development has to come back and bring in a whole new team of people because what we tried last year wasn't even worth the European Football League or the XFL. Like that team wouldn't have won the XFL.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but yet they did go 7-9.
They
7-9, and they were 1 yard short in one game by going 8-8.
Yeah, in
one of the games Cam Newton didn't even play. Right, that was
the Chiefs game,
that was
and they
the
almost
Chiefs
won.
game, and they almost won. Was it Hoyer? Hoyer started, not Stidham.
Well,
right?
Hoyer started, but Stidham had to come in because Hoyer kept throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone on fourth down.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows? I mean, could they have been at best 9-7, maybe even a 10-6 team? Now you add all these pieces. Now you're back to maybe 11-5.
Yeah, but where's the rest of the league
12-4?
going? Last year was a down year for the whole league. There were not like there was Kansas City in the field, Tennessee and Pittsburgh.
The AFC,
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of teams that retooled. Patrick Mahomes is going to be healthy again. He got hurt last year. Like there's just a lot of variables that 7-9 was a gift. Or 9-7 that we were was a gift.
Well, yeah, and the Jets were awful in Miami, but Miami was decent, right? And the Bills were the Bills, right? They were. I mean,
so Miami's going to start.
Bills were a good team, actually.
Right, Bills were good. Now, so the Bills are coming back. They signed Emmanuel Sanders, right? What are the Jets going to look like if they trade Sam Darnold because they take Zach Wilson or whoever? What are the Jaguars going to look like with Trevor Lawrence, Carson Wentz with the Colts? Are the Colts going to take a step? Like, there's just so many teams. Where does Deshaun Watson go? Because the Texans suck anyway. But like, where's Deshaun Watson going to go? If he lands in Miami or if he lands in Denver, those two teams immediately take over.
Well, and the Jets still have a boatload of money to spend. They have they have the most money to spend. They haven't really done all that much in free agency, so they could still pick up anybody they want at this point.
I just
who knows? Who knows?
I don't see the status quo from last season carrying over to this season to say that all the moves we made take our 9-7 team and make us 11-5. Because I think the whole league took the same step.
Yeah,
I think
true, but yeah, I mean, I don't think the Bills could take a step back. I mean, they are the Bills, right? I mean, I love Josh Allen. I'm convinced I love Josh Allen. He's I think the Bills are here to stay. But where were they? 12-4 last year?
Mm-hmm.
The Bills 12-4.
Yeah, so
see them maybe going 11-5. I mean,
11-5, 10-6, 12-4. They're in there. Patriots aren't going to be there, so we're not winning the division. Right? We're not winning 12 games.
I don't know.
With
Cam Newton, they could win 11. They could win 11.
11 games.
They could win 11.
Cam freaking Newton.
Well, you're always going back to the Cam Newton factor. What if their defense is a top 3 defense? What if Damian Harris
can't win
is a
every game. You can't win every game 10-7.
Why not?
Because it's the NFL. Teams, you're not going to get Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami, Indiana. Like, I don't even know who we're playing this year. But you're not going to get these teams to score.
What if on average
7 points?
On average, you get a couple field goals.
Because the two defenses, the two best defenses in the history of football, the Ravens and the Bears, averaged like 13.5 or 14 points per game. And those were the most elite defenses of all time. So you're not averaging.
That would be on another topic. So the Ravens actually were averaging that with Tony Banks up until Trent Dilfer took over, and then they were averaging 25 to 30 points a game. They actually became a decent offense. If you look at the game,
No. I'm saying points allowed by the defense.
But okay,
points allowed by the defense.
So
the two best defenses in history allowed 13 points per game, 13, 14.
It was different eras still. 2000 and 1985 were completely different eras.
So, but even to that point, if those teams were not facing the spread offenses that we're facing today, how can you say that the Patriots are going to battle most games to 10 to 7 wins?
I'm saying they could win games like that. Every game? No. I mean, it's
not 11 of them.
You're not going to no, but they're capable of scoring in the 20s, maybe even in the 30s a couple of games. They're going to beat up on the Jets. They might even beat up on a couple other teams. I'm just looking at it, like looking right down the line.
They're not built to beat up on anybody.
If Damian Harris scores a touchdown every game, if they get a couple of field goals, Cam Newton also rushes in for a touchdown and one touchdown pass by Cam Newton a game. That's 27.
That's never going to happen. That scenario is never
on average, 27 points. Why not?
Because it's not going to happen.
You just don't want Cam Newton. You have zero faith in Cam Newton. I don't have a lot of look. I'm on the same page. I have a glimmer of hope. I have a little bit of faith. And I know that's very Glenn Ordway, Big O, like on the fence, wishy-washy.
I don't have faith in Cam Newton. I have faith in the team to be better. I don't have faith that Cam Newton can deliver what they need to win 10 games.
Okay.
I don't see it.
All right. Well,
so now, hey, time out. I told you I wasn't going to be negative. I don't want to be negative, and I want to be that positive that the Patriots are going to be better, and we can root for them without wanting to absolutely rip our faces and eyeballs off and brown bag it. But let me ask you this, because we can go off on this topic, or we can switch. I know it's 8:00, but fuck it. We said we were going to go crazy because Azar's not here to babysit us.
That's exactly.
March Madness.
I have that on my list. Yeah, I did want to bring that up before.
All right. Do you want to cover anything first to get to that? Because that's a big topic.
It is a big topic, and I did want to touch on that because I'm not a big college basketball guy, but when March Madness comes rolling around, I'm invested. I love filling out the brackets. I do love it. I'm going to give you my final four, but it's not, it's nothing earth shattering. It's not a Buccaneers level prediction here, because I'm just going to come out and just say it. I got to go with how I see it. Gonzaga.
They're good.
They're undefeated. They are loaded, right? They have the top three guys. The top three guys on the teams are studs, and they're all going to go drafted in the NBA. They're all going to go first round. Their freshman, their point guard may go top 5. He's that good. He's going to be top 5 in the draft. He's a freshman. That guy Kispert, I think I'm saying his name right. Kispert. He's the forward there. He could go top 10 in the draft. He's a 90% free throw shooter with great 3-point range. So he's a solid player. Plus, they have good depth throughout. They're ranked number 1. It's no surprise there. It's not as bold as my Bucks prediction, but I have to call it as I see it. I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Gonzaga didn't win it all this year. They're the team that they're going to be the second team. Who was the last? It was Indiana who went undefeated, who ended up winning an NCAA championship. Indiana 76.
It was It has.
So it's been a while.
Undefeated, it's been a long time.
And I think they're going to be the team that goes undefeated and wins it all. I just don't see anybody stopping them. Baylor's pretty good, right? They're the other number 1 seed on the other side.
Well, there's 4 number 1 seeds. Illinois and Michigan are the other.
Michigan and Illinois. So my final 4, again, nothing crazy. I just see those 4 teams being in the mix.
You think all 4 number 1s, huh?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think that's ever really happened before. I just see those 4 teams are very strong.
It happened. It's happened within the last 10 years anyway. It did happen.
Okay.
It's not often. It's not often that it happens. But then, because then you get years that like all the number 1s get whacked, or 3 of them. But I think that I never really like to go all 4 number 1s because the
It's not
The
bold. I
odds
know.
of it happening are slim, but like, what team, and again, tough to say because, especially with COVID, like I haven't really been following as much basketball as, as I'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like West Virginia, is a team that could make some noise. That I like the low ranked teams that can kind of like come out of that 12, that there's always like a 12-5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
And
do like Houston. They're the second ranked team, um, behind Illinois, right in the Midwest there. So
mhm.
if I was going to pick one just to throw out there, so they're not just all number one teams, I think Houston is the team based on kind of what I've seen. I like again, I haven't seen a lot of college
No.
basketball this year, but I just kind of based on what I read and kind of what I see out there, it just seems like they're the team kind of that has a chance
Yeah.
to make it to the
So
championship.
here's something that I look at, right? So, North Carolina is always like a strong tournament team, and they're an 8 seed. So they don't have a great draw because they have to play Wisconsin, and then if they win, presumably Baylor wins, and they have to go to Baylor. But I've like Baylor to me is like that kind of like you ever bet on a Big East team like Georgetown or Seton Hall, and like you just perennially disappointed because they have just this blowout in the early rounds. Like to me, Baylor could be prone to that. And go having to go up against like UNC out of the chute in the second round. I would say that there's something there to watch. And again, North Carolina is a down year, but North Carolina to me is a team that could, if they can get streaky at the beginning of the tournament, knock off some big time players. Because if they can get through Baylor in the second round, I mean, they're the number one seeds out. So what are they going to be left with? Like Villanova or Texas Tech, Arkansas, like Ohio State. I mean, those teams just, I don't know. I think they're all beatable. And if North Carolina can get out early, I think they can make some noise deep. So and then Tennessee and Oklahoma State are like 4 and 5 seeds that are again streaky, but could make some noise. The team that I think going in has a chance to be fun. And I heard a little bit about, I'm just trying to see where they're, let's see, where is, I thought,
Yeah, because based on
oh
the
yeah, yeah. So
recording of this podcast is so tomorrow is the first set of games. So
yeah, I
hopefully
think the
by the
play-in
time
games,
people
right?
listen to this, it's before their brackets are submitted in. So uh, they could kind of take what we're saying and apply it to their brackets.
Yeah, so a team that I think is actually higher than I thought they were going to be ranked. So, but again, it's in that South bracket is Arkansas. If Arkansas plays on a neutral court or home, they have some big wins, including they went right toe to toe with Baylor. And they were a team that like I was like, who the hell Arkansas? And I'm listening to one of the radio shows on the weekends, and they were talking about college, some of the teams that have been, good against the spread or have covered things like that. Now Arkansas have kept coming up a few weeks in a row, and I was like, Jesus, this team seems to be on a streak. And they're coming in as a number 3 seed, which that's usually like that spot where it's like once you're out of that 1-2 spot, sometimes the threes, but like when you get into the 4, 5, 6s, you are bad enough that you're a big team. You made it in, but like you weren't like a good big team. So some of these smaller schools that can at best get like a 10, 11, 12 seed, they start knocking off. So like I tend to stay away from the 5, 6, 7s because they always get knocked off. But Arkansas is at that 3 spot. I think Arkansas at a 3 and North Carolina at an 8 could be the 2 teams that battle to come out of the South.
Okay.
So
there's a little bit of a Cinderella team.
Yeah, a little bit of it's an 8 seed and a 3 seed. I mean, Cinderellas are usually like that 12, that 11, 12, 13 seed making a big splash. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to see that yet. And, like, it's just like UCLA coming in or Michigan State. So like that's a play-in for an 11 seed, and they have to start against BYU, who, for everything that BYU was, they're ranked 23, second in their conference, but they're 1-3 versus top 25 teams.
Yeah.
It just BYU to me seems like a team, they lost to Gonzaga 3 times, so you got to take that into consideration. But are they a team that could get picked off by a really good Michigan State team? That if Michigan State can beat UCLA, they're like North Carolina. They're one of those teams that are built for the tournament, and they make some noise, and then they get through BYU, Texas, and then, I mean, Michigan. Listen. I'm a big Wolverines. I already have my son dressed up in like Wolverine onesies and Notre Dame onesies, but perennially Michigan is ranked high and they get knocked off. They're not a strong top team. Same thing in football. Whenever they're ranked high, boom, they get knocked off. They haven't been perennial. And, I think that conference is the East bracket is the weakest. Alabama is number 2, but again, Alabama lost to Arkansas. Like there's just LSU is a team that can kind of make some noise, but Colorado is another one that's been pretty good. I don't see the number ones coming out because they're not dominant number ones, specifically, Michigan and, Illinois. And I think Baylor's prone, like you said, Gonzaga. I'm not even going to be willing to touch Gonzaga. They're going to go and probably win it all. But again, if you've ever bet on Gonzaga before, they're always prone to like a big letdown.
Yeah. They were in the finals like a few years ago, right? Gonzaga was
all the way back. I don't know if you remember the kid. He got drafted by the Utah Jazz. I feel like Gonzaga has always been sniffing, like even when they have like number 1 seeds and like top 5 seeds, they had that kid Adam Morrissey.
I was going to say Adam Morrison. Yeah.
Adam Morrison. Since him, I feel like Gonzaga's been like a contender, and they never ever can just get over that hump. And I mean, this year you can't be any more dominant that they've been.
Yeah. I remember like 15 or so years ago when Gonzaga was brought in, they were like the team that just came out of nowhere in when you're doing your March Madness brackets and you're like, oh, who's this Gonzaga team?
Yeah,
like they're fun. They're fun to say. And it's like, and I think ever since then, it was just players were flocking to go play for Gonzaga. I almost feel like that was the year, or that was the tournament that kind of kicked off their. It was easy to recruit guys to go to Gonzaga, and ever since then they've competed. They've been good, but they've never won it. They've never won a national championship. And I think this year, I actually just did a random, search on Google on like what some bold predictions out there on who's going to win it, and what people are saying. And I've been finding a few of them here, because this is what Azar and I have said. We wanted to go into this year with our podcast and really tell people that we're willing to do the research. We're willing to kind of read what's out there. You only know how you're being educated to know, right? We're not just coming up and just making guesses and just, thinking. We're trying to make educated guesses. So we're trying to do the work here. So a lot of teams or a lot of media outlets, some say that, Gonzaga won't win the national championship. They're relating back to the last couple of teams that went undefeated, Wichita State in 2014, Kentucky in 2015. Neither ended up winning it all.
Right.
There's another one here that says Illinois wins the national championship. So again, a number 1 seed, but it's not Gonzaga, So if people just don't want to go with the obvious pick and say, well, everyone's going to pick Gonzaga, they want to go with somebody else. Maybe you want to go with Illinois. I did mention Houston earlier, and I did find one here that people are saying that Houston goes to the Final Four as a number 2 seed. They said that because they've won the last 7 in a row and 9 of the last 10, they're just hot. They're just hot right now. And there's a guy, Quentin Grimes, there that's been averaging 18 points a game. And he could end up being a star in March, throughout March Madness. So, if you want to pick a team, Houston could be one. Some, people say Winthrop, a number 12 seed. You were saying, get those number 12 seeds in there. Winthrop is another one. So you could do a lot of these type of things and what these experts are saying out there. But as long as you're not reading something, like if you're just looking at a bracket, right, and saying, okay, this is how it's going to be, and they don't break it down. Why are they going to win? Why is it going to be this case? I like to kind of read a little bit into that and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. They've won 9 out of the last 10, or they've won a bunch in a row, or they've played really tough teams this year, and they've lost a couple of those. That's why they're not a higher seed than they should be. I like some justification into that, and that's how I fill out my brackets. As much as little as I know about college basketball, every time I feel like I use that approach and I fill out the brackets, I feel like I do fairly well. I'm never, I'm not the best. I don't really call it every time, but I'm in the mix. I'm in the mix. I don't want to get bounced out, after the first round and be like, yep, yeah, I picked all the wrong ones. I tried to go all 16 seeds and they all ended up losing. So
so my pick out of the 12 fives is, and I know this is against my own advice because it always freaking happens, is that you see Georgetown and you're like, oh man, Georgetown used to be so good. Remember Patrick Ewing went there? Like there's a storied program. They got off to a slow start, so they're in a 12 seed, and you're like, that's the sweet spot. 12 seed against a 5 seed, but Colorado's the 5 seed, and they're pretty good. But I don't know. Georgetown's in that 12 spot. I think I go with Georgetown to make a little dance. I like your Winthrop pick because I would also say Winthrop would be the 12, the other 12 on the other side that I would go with, because Villanova, I just don't love. I never loved Villanova, even when they won the national championship. Like they won it on a buzzer beater, and it was like I never loved Villanova. And they're always heavy on the guards. They have heavy guard play, and Winthrop has been they're number one in their conference. They're a smaller conference, but they beat up on everybody in their conference. And if they can come out, now that reinforces my UNC take, that if UNC can bounce through Baylor in the second round, they're going to get a 12 seed, and then at best Arkansas or Ohio State coming out. So if Winthrop wins, and North Carolina wins, that reinforces my pick that North Carolina could really make some big noise and take down not only a number 1 seed, but then come up against a 12 seed after that.
Yeah. I'm smiling because Azar is texting me if we're still going. And I said yes. he asked 3 hours.
We're gonna try to do it. Oh, there it is.
We're trying to go for 3 hours.
Yep.
So
setting records.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even realize this. You mentioned with Winthrop, they only lost once all season. Is that right? Am I reading that correctly? They lost once all season, and they're a number 12 seed.
Yes, because they're in so you've just exactly hit what the point I made earlier is, when you're in a conference that's not one of the big conferences, you don't get the what do they call it, the RTI or whatever points that they use to do the ranking. So Winthrop is, I can't remember what conference they're in, but they're in one of the second tier conferences. Oh, they're in the Big South, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're in the SEC or the ACC or the Big East, the Big 10, Pac-12, and you come in first, second, and third, you're going to get a number 1 seed, a number 2 seed, number 3 seed, 4, and you're going to fill in. At best, when you're in these smaller conferences and you win the conference, because your strength of schedule points, you're only at best getting like a 5 seed, maybe 6, right? So, and not even because they would have to go undefeated, and they would only get like a 9 or a 10 seed. So they're a 12 seed. They're a dominant team, and they're going to go up against Villanova. Villanova, 16-6, right? 3-1 against top 25. Winthrop hasn't played a top 25 team, but so that's what they figure, and they figure that Villanova's schedule was harder than Winthrop's, so Villanova has more like better wins than Winthrop, and that's why they're a 5 seed. And it just doesn't matter. If you're a good team, you're a good team. And I think that, like you said, Winthrop's in one of those 12-5 spots that they could flip over the bracket.
That could be a favorite or a popular pick in a lot of people's brackets because they don't want to always pick the favorites, and if they're going to pick one, you got to go with
the upset. And the odds are I think every single bracket for like the last 30 years, and again, I'm overstating that, but it's something crazy like that a 12 has beat a 5. 112 has beat 1-5 in every bracket going back for a long, long time. And if it wasn't a 12, then it was a 13. But there's always been a seed from 12 or lower that has won.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's significant. You just got to find, you got to find where that is.
I'm looking at the odds here. I'm looking at sportingnews.com. And of course, Gonzaga's at the top of the list at plus 200 odds. Baylor at 600, Michigan 600, Illinois 700. Fifth is Iowa 1600. And surprising again to see Houston here. They're next at 1800. So
Iowa's a number 2 seed, as is Houston.
Yeah, right. But I mean, to be right there, I mean, that's kind of what they go by, right? Number 1 seeds first, and then number 2 seeds. But like you said, just because you're a number 2 seed or number 3 seed, you could be better than the number 1 seed in another region. So, so it's just interesting to kind of look at this and say, oh, you know what? Houston, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, West Virginia, kind of round out the top 10 there. So. Interesting. Yeah, no, it's always exciting to watch March Madness. I like the idea of college kids who aren't making a lot of money. Maybe some of them are, but
I was gonna say.
But just they're going all out, right? They're going. I mean, some of them, they're not going to get drafted in the NBA. This is it for them. Like this is the end of their basketball career, if you will, and so. They're going all out, right? And it's a one and done type of.
You get those stories
mindset.
like I'm looking at. There's a number 8 seed. Do you remember 2 years ago? It was Loyola Chicago that had the nun, the 95-year-old nun. Do you remember that story?
No.
What the hell was her name? So she was like their good luck charm. So Loyola Chicago is a Catholic school or Jesuit school or whatever, and. Oh my God. I'll Google it in 2 seconds to get the name, but Loyola Chicago went on like a 3-win run where they made it to, I want to say the Elite 8. And they had like Sister Sally or whatever her name was, some like 100-year-old nun that they had plotted out into the audience. And she's like sitting there looking like, like Mother Teresa hunched over, barely able to move. And she was their biggest cheerleader. And so you get a team like that, like none of those kids were going to make the NBA. They just were a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
And they complemented each other well. And they had a kid that was lighting up buckets from the 3-point line. And they went on a big run. And, again, you get those stories. Like you said, you get these kids that are playing for true passion of the game and just to make their mark because they're not going to be able to do it ever again. And those runs are fun. And you feel like, in Loyola Chicago is an 8 seed right now, and they're going to play Georgia Tech, who's meh, and then they run into Illinois. So again, they're not going to have that same magic, but you get a team like that does, and they make some noise real quick. And so you're right. I like the speed of the games. You can watch all day. You can watch like 7 games, and like the day hasn't even gotten away from you.
Yeah. You can see how fast and aggressive they all play, but just to kind of break away here, I don't know if you saw Azar's text here. We have breaking news right live on this podcast. So I was thinking by the time by the time this gets transferred over and uploaded, by the time it's not going to be breaking news. It's breaking news to us. Curtis Samuel signing a 3-year, $34.5 million deal with Washington. Now, so this goes back to your point a little bit, right? I don't know if Curtis Samuel was in your wheelhouse of great receivers compared to Nelson Brickhands Aguilar. Aguilar, right? 2 years, $26 million.
Yeah.
Average 13 a year. This one's 11 and a half a year.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you rather have, Curtis Samuel or Nelson Aguilar? Does this make you feel better or worse?
So, the problem is it's Curtis Samuel, and for the life of me, I could have given 2 shits about Curtis Samuel, and nor did I ever want the Patriots to draft him. I mean,
he was higher on free agent lists than
he was, but
Nelson
like, who
Aguilar
the fuck is Curtis Samuel?
I know. He's not a big name. He's not a big name. But
he's as big of a name as Kendrick Bourne. Who the hell's Kendrick Bourne? Right? Like I look at it
played in the Bourne Identity.
Yeah. So Curtis Samuel wasn't a sexy pick, but I heard his name everywhere. So I knew he played in Carolina. I didn't love Carolina, and Whatever.
Like if this was say like Galladay, right, and he signed that same contract, right, you'd be like, what
furious,
the hell? Right? And that's
but to your point, if Samuel was the third or fourth top wide receiver available, he signed for 11, and we took shit bums off the bottom or middle of the list in Aguilar and Bourne, which they're not in the top 5, so they're shit bums. Yeah. We paid them more. What? Like, I don't understand what we did.
What quarterback just signed with Washington? Was that
Ryan Fitzpatrick for $10 million, 1 year?
So Fitzpatrick gets the throw to Curtis Samuel and Terry
McLaurin. Scary Terry, your boy.
Yeah, that's hey, that's
not bad.
Not bad. I like Fitzpatrick.
They got a good tight end too. They have a really good tight end. What the hell was his name? Something with an L. Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
There we go. He's really good. Listen, I mean, they didn't consistently use him the right way, but my God, the 1 week I had to pay attention to him was when I was playing Shady, and he just like picked him up off the waiver wire and started him, and the guy went off for 3 touchdowns and torched Pittsburgh. I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, he's talented.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's good size, good speed, good hands. He can block too. That's not a bad little team. It's just Washington. Dan Snyder can't get out of their own way. Yeah. That's their problem. But
yeah, they just seem. I mean, Washington had a good defense last year, and maybe with these offensive, because that division still sucks.
Hot trash.
And they can. What did they win last year to win the division? It was like 8 games, 7 games.
It was like 6 games.
Right. It was like awful. Like how do you win a division? That's not going to happen again. It's just that was an anomaly. It's even though the whole division could still suck, one team is going to end up emerging, but Washington could be a team to watch out for because you never know. You never know once they get into the playoffs.
Their defense was good last year. Their defense was good.
Chase Young is going to be another year older. And he'll
Chase Young. They still have Kerrigan. They had a couple. They got a good O line. Like they're not a bad little team. And they had Gibson as a good running back. He.
Yeah. I forgot. I was trying to think of the running back there. It was Azar. If Azar was still on, he would jump all over.
All about his eye.
Loves Antonio Gibson. So yeah, they have a nice little team. And I think believer.
So they have Taylor
Magic.
They have Taylor Heineke, who did good in the playoffs, but again, one-hit wonder. Right. I don't know. But Fitzpatrick is there to at least balance it out. And you know what? You're good with Fitzmagic for half the season before he starts throwing picks everywhere. I don't know. I think
not a bad team. Not a bad team there. And we both agree that Dallas in that division is a mess. Philadelphia is a mess. Yep. So who's the other team? Who's the fourth team? The Giants. Yeah.
You're not up on your Sporkle. You can do a Sporkle on NFL teams by division and see what you can remember.
Speaking of Sporkle, I actually saw something today. It wasn't on Sporkle, but it's a Sporkle type question. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Let's
see if you can figure it out. Give me all, and I'll tell you how many there are. There are 6 wrestlers that have main evented both WrestleMania and Starrcade. Who are the 6 wrestlers?
Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
WrestleMania.
Actually, now that I think of it, I don't think Ric Flair was one of them. He must have been.
He headlined WrestleMania 8 when he lost the title to Macho Man.
Oh, he did because they had a dual main event thing there. Yeah. Okay.
Hogan
he was a Hogan and Ric Flair. Yep.
Okay, Hogan, Ric Flair. The other 4.
This is exciting podcast listening right here.
This is good. So who wrestled in both? And it has to be headline, right? Can't just be wrestled. You specifically said headline.
Yeah, headline main event, like the main event.
So do you consider Sting Triple H? Because Sting would have headlined a Starrcade, main event at a Starrcade, but I don't think the WrestleMania match with Triple H you can say was a headline.
No.
Okay, so who else? See, the trick is headlining, right? So like Booker T would have done both, but I don't know if he headlined he didn't headline a WrestleMania.
See, this is why I love this, because if Azar was here, he would shut this down
I know.
in
No,
a
you got to
heartbeat.
think about this.
He would shut this shit down.
Steve Austin wrestled for both. He would have headlined a WrestleMania, but I don't know about a Starrcade because he was only in WCW as like the ringmaster, which was a mid-card level guy. Like, is Steve Austin one of them?
You know what? I could think of 5 right now, if I remember. I think Steve Austin was one of them. Now that I think of it, he was one of them. Yes.
Okay.
So you got Hogan,
Flair.
Yes, and Steve Austin.
Macho Man.
Yes. Yep.
All
4.
Right. That's 4.
Yep.
How many do I need?
2 more.
Shit.
One of them is fairly easy, if you really think about it.
Psycho Sid.
Oh yes. So you get the harder of the 2.
Okay.
So you got Sid. Yep. Yeah. Who's the
Bret
6th?
Hart.
No.
Goldberg.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. It's actually a very very, very popular wrestler, but you wouldn't think of him main eventing.
Roddy Piper.
You got it.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper, because he main evented the first WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And he main evented later on.
That's what I was doing in my head. I had to go through
Starrcade,
WrestleMania main eventers. And
I think it was 1996.
Fantastic.
Yeah, good job.
Not so bad.
I thought Sid Vicious might be able to, but as soon as you mentioned Sting, no, not Sting, Ric Flair, because he wrestled Macho Man, but also Hogan had a Sid Vicious
at WrestleMania 8.
Yes,
right,
yes. So
right.
they both kind of
that
duo
tricked me on
main evented.
Sid.
Yes.
So the other one that I was going to guess
right?
was Lex Luger.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. Yeah, I don't think he ever main evented WrestleMania. But
well, he had the thing with Yokozuna and Bret Hart, and it was like the double main event. Luger wrestled first, and then Bret Hart wrestled. So
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like how do you figure that out? Like the main event is it just because it's the last event, wrestling match of the night or whatever. Now that they have the women in it, it just kind of muddles everything up. But the Sid Vicious one, I was surprised you got that one because he's not a guy you think of to main event both. Right? Hogan's easy, Flair, Sting. You could say Piper just because of that first WrestleMania. Macho Man, right? Those are the biggest wrestling names in the history. Then you got Sid Vicious. Really?
Well, he was
like that guy
because he was big and blonde and kind of filled the Hulk Hogan role. They tried to bring him along in that like mid '90s thing, and he just sucked.
He actually main evented 3. I think it was 2 at WrestleMania and 1 at Starrcade, and he lost all 3. He's never won. He's the only one that hasn't won. Actually, Roddy Piper beat Hogan in Starrcade. No, Roddy Piper actually defeated Hogan in '96. So he's the only one that's never won a main event. So anyway, so we're going. We might be going 4 hours here if we continue going here, Jarvis. So I think we might.
We're at a good
wrap it up
stopping
here.
point. Yeah.
That was good. We talked a little bit.
Allow Azar to let us do this again. If we keep going, he'll definitely fire me.
We almost did this a few weeks ago when Jarvis. Azar couldn't jump on. He said, that'll be fun. And I said, that's not a good idea. I don't know. We need the mediator here.
We definitely need a facilitator. This is like ADHD for talk show radio. This is
because you know what people are going to say. They're going to listen to this and they're going to say, geez, they went on talking about WWE. They talked about Young Rock. They talked about what the hell is going on?
We're expanding our audience. Think about it. Like Partos is going to listen and be like, the wrestling segment was great. We need a little bit for everybody. Yep. And Azar would have poo-pooed the whole thing. And I'm glad we got through the trivia question. Because that was fantastic.
I wonder if Partos, that's a good trivia. I'm going to send this out on the text to Partos and say, this is a question specifically for you. Give me the 6. You can't Google. No cheating.
Well, Antifa's going to Google. Antifa Googles everything and then chimes in. Although, you know what? I can't dog on him. He's my trivia partner. So I take that back, Antifa. You don't Google everything.
Well, you did drop the sporkle.com website, which is a pretty fun site for trivia. Any topic you want. It is actually kind of fun to go through it. So check it out. Sporkle.com. That's it. That's a nice little site for little trivia questions if you're ever sitting at your computer board. It fills in the
dead time at work, right?
It does.
All right, Big Meat.
Well, thank you so much, and good podcast. And I'm going to close it out this time. No Azar. It's an Azar-less second half podcast, which was kind of refreshing.
Can I give you a closing take? We have
Sure.
officially landed. Azar is officially a take snake. I want to put it on the record. I don't know if you guys covered it, but we can start the next podcast. He is a take snake. He'll make a take. He'll tell us that we said it. We misheard him, accuse us of twisting his words, and then calling me Felger and you an asshole and all this stuff. You know what? There's nobody worse than listening to him snake out of a take just to prove himself right. He did it with N'Keal Harry. He did it. Oh, N'Keal Harry's going to be cut. And we said, okay, he's not going to be cut. Patriots would be dumb to do it because you have just spent the whole podcast touting your GM skills. And then when you called him out on it, what did he do? I never said cut. I said wouldn't be on the roster. You guys are just
he said cut.
Blah blah blah.
He said cut. No, he knows what he said. He knows what he said, and he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to take it back.
Nope.
So
he's a take snake.
Yes, he's a take snake. He is
Trademark
the Max Kellerman.
Snake.
If you're Felger, he's Max Kellerman. That's
totally. I'd rather be Felger than Max Kellerman.
That's what Max Kellerman did. It's like, oh, Brady's going to fall off the cliff. And then years later, well, no, I didn't really say that. It was just a joke.
Take snake. Azar is a true take snake. Slithers his way right out.
Take snake. I like it.
Yep. Mark it.
All right.
2.5 hours into the podcast.
I love it. The longest one yet.
I just miss you guys and want to keep talking. That's all.
I do too. Hey, you know what? I said I'll go 5 hours. I don't.
Like
you know, it doesn't matter. But
let's go.
You know, Raccoon's gonna complain. He complains when it goes past 1 hour.
You're using my Zoom too long.
3 hours. I don't know how to pause. I'll listen to it later. All those guys. They're all just a bunch of sensitive little
stiffs.
Yeah.
Closing take. Everybody sucks except us.
Exactly. We're awesome. And we call it as it is. We predict everything.
And we stand by our takes. I get called Felger because I stand by my take, and all these Antifas can't take it. Antifa, R3, they can't take it.
You know, Azar is just going to listen to this and he's going to say, see, I told you I need to be there to rein these guys in.
That's right. That's right.
The one thing that
we've been saying goodbye for 10 minutes.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna forget to hit stop recording here. We're just gonna keep talking for the next 3 hours. All right, this time we're really gonna take. All right,
hit the button.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Until next time.
See you later.